If you've ever traded a tariff tantrum, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. And oh my goodness, it's another Monday and there's another panic. The market is selling off. Market's in turmoil. What are we going to do? Oh my God, big bad Trump and his tariffs. What are we going to do, folks? Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to break it down. We're going to take a look at all of the news stories. We're going to look at the charts. We're going to figure out where the action is, and we're going to make smart decisions trading it just like we did last week. Remember, we came in last week. We had all of these deep seek headlines, and it was bad across the board. VIX peaked at 2251 last Monday in the pre-market. Today, VIX only got to 2041. So we'll see where we finish. I can't wait to hear from you folks. Benzinga's pre-market playbook starts right now. Good morning, folks, and happy Monday, and welcome back. It's time for another week in the stock market, and I don't know about you folks. Are you guys tired of showing up on Monday, guys and gals, excuse me? Are you tired of showing up on Monday and having there be a lot of over the weekend volatility? As traders, I don't think we should be tired of that. We should embrace that, and we have another round of stuff on the deck here today. We're going to go through all of the news. We're going to have polls created. We're going to talk about it. And of course, we're going to come up with those trades. Let's go ahead and make this a proper Monday morning and welcome everybody back. Crimp Biscuit, welcome back. It's great to see you. Hugh, welcome back. Appreciate all your support. Mixed Mastered Mike. I love the alliteration there, boss. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Steve, welcome back. Kayla, Jane, Paul, Chuck. The whole crew is here. Welcome back, folks. Drew, it's great to see you again. Hustle and bustle, here to make some money before your regular job of selling houses. By the way, Hustle and bustle, I'm curious if you have any thought on if these tariffs do go into place and stay there for a little bit. Does that affect any building materials for new home construction? I lean on you for that. Let me know. Jonathan, welcome back. Tom, welcome back. Laura, great to see you this morning. Couch Potato, a lovely YouTube handle. Welcome back. Reaching Financial Freedom might be my favorite handle of the day here. Welcome back. Special K, welcome back. Larry, welcome back. White Chocolate Mocha. Now we can start the day. Jane, Ryan, you are the sound of calm in a sea of red. I am going to try and be calm all day long here today. That is for sure. Conditionally accepted. Welcome back. McClanahan, welcome back. Big of Bees, welcome back. Sergeant Sexy. Okay, folks. It's official. Now we can start. Sergeant Sexy in the house. Sun Kissed Yogi, welcome back. 3D, welcome back. Peter, welcome back. Okay, let's go ahead and break it down. Got a lot to cover here today. We've, of course, got Matt Malley, and we got to get 13's opinion on all the things that are moving around. But first, let's talk about the big news. It is all about tariffs, as I'm sure you've heard. Quick look across the board here. Everything down. S&P futures down 1.6%. Dow down 1.4%. And the NASDAQ leading the way down at 1.8% to the downside. Now, it is worth noting, all of these indices that I just mentioned are up off the lows. Now, I say that because last week when we came in and we had a terrible event that was going to sink everything and ruin the world, we bottomed in the pre-market. So we're going to start off early here today. Producer, the first question that I have here today is today's market dip a buyable dip? You don't have to answer if you're going to buy the dip or if you want to buy the dip. What do you think is going to happen? All right. What do you think is going to happen? Does this piece of news or does this development represent a buy the dip opportunity like we saw last week with DeepSeek? Shout out to our group here because last week we asked the exact same thing, and You folks correctly said yes, it was. If you remember, the majority ended up winning that. And furthermore, we actually did a second poll where we asked, is the SPY going to close green? And although the SPY was trading up, the group got it right again by saying no. So really proud of the group, really impressed with the group, and I would love to see what those poll results say again. So here we are, we're dipping. Is this a buy the dip opportunity? We'll get to the next poll question when we get there. Stocks likely to open lower as Trump imposes tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico. Expert notes February is the worst month in post-election year. So, okay, let's start off with the chart, and then let's dive into the article, and we're going to get you a tweet or two here to talk about as well. First things first with the SPY. As mentioned, we were hanging out, right up here around those all-time highs. In fact, we did set a new all-time high on Friday, January 24th. We've since kind of come back in a little bit from that. Now, with the move here today, we actually take out several key levels. We take out the 50-day moving average, which we had at 597.42. Let's call it 597.5. And we also took out the 20-day moving average at 596.21. We are currently beneath both of those moving averages. So in the event that the market bounces at all here today, both of those levels are going to be key levels. I would expect to find some type of resistance there. I want to see if the market has the strength to get above any of those levels. And then at the end of the day here today, are we able to close above those levels? Furthermore, if the market continues to run scared and puts its tail between its legs, we have some downside levels as well. First one here is going to be the 586.92. That is going to represent the 100-day moving average, and that is just about 7 points away from where we're at. Furthermore, we have this downtrend that we've added when we really started to fall away on December 18th. So what am I going to do? You guessed it. I'm going to extend this out a little bit, maintaining those same highs. And voila, look at that. That trend line lines up beautifully with that 100-day moving average. So we can feel pretty sure that it's the value there is at 586.91. Let's just call it 587. 587 should represent a support level if the market continues to trade down. Now, we'll see. Was the low put in the pre-market or in the after-hours trade? I don't know the answer to that, but we're going to find that out here today. So keep those levels in mind. It's also worth mentioning here, we of course have the 582.30 level. If we continue to break down, that level will come back into play too. We've seen that level come into play a number of times. Okay, let's go ahead and break down some of the article. That should cover the charts. Now let's go dive in. Producer, he's going to go ahead and just going to go ahead and throw. Oh, he already did. Never mind. He's so fast that he's already got it in there. Okay. U.S. stocks likely to open lower as Trump imposes tariffs on those three countries. Now, a couple of things that are going on here. First of all, the question is will this bring manufacturing back to the U.S.? That's one of the entire points of this. As far as the executive order goes, there are two things. There's one, this is about fentanyl and about the drug trade that's going on, particularly at the Mexican border, but also making its way up into Canada. And then it's also about bringing manufacturing back to the United States. So a couple of things here. Will that happen? Yet to be seen. We'll see if that ends up shaking out here today. I wanted to see if there's new tariffs begin on Tuesday with a 10% levy on China and a 25% levy on a few Canadian and Mexican imports. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce warns the supply chain disruptions and higher family costs, citing concerns over trade with Mexico worth $46 billion in agricultural products and Canada worth $97 billion in energy supply. Now, energy is not a part of this. Energy is not necessarily a part of this. I think it's only 10%, but that could change. Also worth noting, Trump has said over the weekend that he actually has or is going to talk with both Canada and Mexico today. So tariffs are supposed to start tomorrow. I guess happy Tariff Tuesday Eve. It doesn't sound right. Anyway, they're going to have more conversations today. Tariffs are supposed to start tomorrow. If you've seen this happen before, you realize we might get some more news or some more headlines out of that at some point today, which could affect all of this. So stay on your toes, head on a swivel in that case. Now, also from this article here, Ed Yardeni and Eric Wallerstein in their quick takes notes mentioned that during Trump 1.0, tariff hikes by the U.S. seem to have depressed merchandise imports in 2018 and 2019, but they also depressed U.S. exports because global economic growth was weakened by trade tension. All right, that's right down here. So keep that in mind also. Now, here's my favorite part. Friend of the show, Ryan Dietrich here, who is an ace with the stats. He just has some of the best market stats in the business. If you don't follow him, what are you doing? Go follow him. He's completely apolitical, all about the market, and just an overall great follow and great market great account regarding the market. February, he tweets, February is historically the worst year during a post-election year. So maybe Ruff sees this month shouldn't be a shock. Is it just that the president, not Trump, but any president, the royal president there, likes to get the bad stuff out of the way early? That would make sense, wouldn't it? Here's the, I actually already had the tweet here. My apologies. Here is the actual tweet. If you folks want that, I'll go ahead and drop that here in the chat as well. Here is the chart showing this. So every time we get a new president, February always seems to be the worst in terms of S&P 500 performance. Well, it's certainly starting off that way again, isn't it? And maybe we do get some of the bad news out of the way. February is the worst month in a post-election year, and that's what we find ourselves in here. So given the seasonality, given some of the previous stats on how this month has provided or how this month has gone, we are going to apply that to this month. Now, of course, we have this piece of news on top of it that we need to get ourselves through. But that's what's going on here. Here is a tweet here from Ryan Dietrich. He also, by the way, goes on to say that yes, it was a very strong January for stocks, but be aware that the first quarter of a post-election year usually isn't all that strong. So this also is this kind of getting the bad news, getting the bad stuff out of the way early. We'll see if that ends up materializing here. So as we approach February, which is weak over the long term, we must remember that seasonality is a guideline, but it can deviate widely each year. So just because this has been what we've seen in the past doesn't mean that this is what we're going to see in the future. However, we want to be aware of that seasonality in all regards. So there you go. Let's see. Let me go back here real quick. Hustle and bustle. I had asked you earlier regarding the housing here. Ryan, 30% of U.S. lumber comes from Canada. That's going to hit new construction as much as oil costs. So there you go. Let's see. I think there was something else in here. Conditionally accepted says buy the dip too early and your liquidity. So conditionally accepted sounds like you're saying there, well, a buy the dip strategy might work. We must ensure that our timing is correct and not get too early there. Viper says nibble, nibble, nibble. I don't know if you're joking, trolling, or just kind of hinting. Maybe you're getting ready to nibble on this dip here. I think that's one way to make sure that you stay agile, right? If you're just nibbling, you can get out of a position if it doesn't work. Bobby G says this all depends on Trump's meeting with Trudeau. I think Trudeau doesn't have a deal because he's defective. I think a lot of this has to do with some of these meetings. And, you know, a lot of it's going to be, do they want to save face? Do they want to appear tough? I'm not going to make predictions on how the meetings go. I just kind of expect that there's going to be another shoe to drop here today. I don't know when that's going to be, but that's one of the things that I'm going to be waiting for. Mixed Mastered Mike saying Trump is ruffling feathers. No panic selling, right? Bought 2 dips ago. Ask your money when you need it back. So this, you know, first of all, the market, if one thing is for sure, politics completely removed, the market has been extremely resilient in the face of high inflation, last week in the face of DeepSeek, and now this week in the face of tariffs. I mean, the market's down basically 1.5%. This could be a lot worse, right? This could be a lot worse, at least so far. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't get worse. right? And I know there's some talk over the weekend about a trade war. Again, they just had Kevin Hassard on CNBC. He did a really good job kind of outlining the executive order. This is not about a trade war. This is actually about a drug war. So we'll see if it stays on those lines or if it starts to escalate and get out of control. All of that stuff is possible. I'm not going to make a prediction on what's going to happen. I'm going to make sure I understand what levers are impacting everything and stay agile so that we can take advantage of this. Basically, if this market is going to bounce, we want to take advantage of those gains, right? If it's going to trade back towards the 600 level, SPY's currently at 593. I mean, we want to take advantage of that. Conversely, if we lose this 590, 591 level and we look to trade down to a 580 handle, don't we want to take advantage of that too? So we want to stay on top of everything that's going here and then make sure that we can hit the next trade, no matter how short term or how long term. Good morning, Matthew. It's great to see you. Brandy says, no, he won't. He's a fool. No, it won't. He's a fool. Can't remember what that refers to, but nonetheless, a valid opinion. Who dat Dave, ladies and gentlemen, I anticipate a 20% correction over the next 2 quarters. Okay, so there we go. Already getting one prediction here that, hey, this is probably not a bounce. If we're going to correct 20%, this is the dip you don't want to buy. We'll see if that ends up playing out. Excuse me. They're also imposing tariffs on us as well. Mr. T is a master negotiator, but we'll see how it goes. He so much has said that, right? Might be some short-term pain here. People understand. We'll see what happens. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure how much people understand. I probably disagree with them there, but we'll see. To his point, he's making a point there that in the long term, this is actually going to be better. So we'll see. I'm waiting till Wednesday. Confirmation is key. Peggy, I can appreciate taking kind of a patient approach there, right? You want to make sure you have all of the information, have all of the inputs there. Being patient is a way to not make bad trades early on. Tom saying Canada and Mexico have the option to export their products elsewhere. If that's the case, then that's the other shoe that will drop. We'll see if that's the case. Day trader saying the idea that fentanyl is coming from Canada and this warrants tariff is insane. Remember, that is not what he is saying. They're also saying that fentanyl is making its way up into Canada. So they want both nations, Mexico and Canada, to help the United States stop the traffic of this drug trade. I understand how you could have thought that, though, because clearly the big problem with fentanyl is happening at the southern border, not the northern border. I think that is well understood. So we'll see where all this stuff goes. Like I said, it is setting the table for a wild Monday here early on. Let's actually keep going through it. Got another story here on tariffs. This next one here, Trump tariffs are here. Here's what will get more expensive from Canada, China, and Mexico. And this is probably the thing that most people, I know we're market participants, so we're always thinking about, well, how can we play this and how can we do this and where are the gains and this, that, and the other thing. Totally understand. But for those that don't participate in Wall Street and just stay on Main Street, there's obviously some other things that are going to go to this or that are going to go into this. And this is one of them. So the tariffs imposed by Trump on Saturday include a 25% duty on all imports from Mexico and most goods from Canada, excluding energy-related items such as crude oil, which will see a 10% tariff. So remember, we just talked about energy. United States does get a lot of energy from Canada. In fact, I think that they had somebody on CNBC either earlier today or last week talking about how Broadway was lit up by Canadian energy and this, that, and the other thing. I'm sure that's also going to play into these negotiations no matter how they go here today. So as far as waiting or at least watching for more headlines today, that's definitely one of them that you want to keep your eye out for. How is the energy tariff going to change? What's Canada going to do? Are they going to retaliate? This, that, and the other thing. I don't want to make a prediction on that because I have no idea, but that's definitely something that I'm going to be paying attention to here. The tariffs set to take effect on Tuesday have been met with warnings from economists about potential negative impacts on American businesses and consumers, reports CNN. I don't think there's any surprise that CNN would report that the Trump administration is doing something that's going to hurt people. They've made a living doing that. That comes as no surprise. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce has warned that these tariffs could disrupt supply chains and lead to increased prices for American families. Sungwon Son, I think I pronounced that name correctly, a professor of finance and economics at Loyola Marymount University, stated consumers are going to be clearly worse off. This is the big fear that people are kind of promulgating, if that's the right word. Is Main Street going to be worse off? The reality, and we saw this in the last election, when Main Street feels pressure, they speak with their wallet. Trump isn't some magical president or anything that is immune to this. If the consumer hurts and continues to hurt for an extended period of time, it is going to reflect poorly on him. That's just how this is going to go. Now, the question is, can a deal get worked out first? Can there be some type of help long-term that's going to kind of offset the short-term pain? That's yet to be seen. But this is something else that we're definitely going to have to watch out for. The new tariffs could make agricultural products from Mexico and Canada more expensive for U.S. consumers. Last year, the U.S. imported $46 billion worth of agricultural products from Mexico, according to USDA data. Now, I know there's a contingent of people out there. They are freaking out about their avocados. They are extremely worried that avocado prices are going to skyrocket, and maybe they will. We'll see. I'm pretty sure that there are plenty of avocados also grown in California, so it'll be interesting to see again how this kind of shakes out. The U.S. also imported $97 billion worth of oil and gas from Canada last year. The 10% tariff on Canadian energy products could limit the impact of gasoline prices. And again, look for this to be maybe the next leg in these negotiations or these potential retaliatory tariffs. Not easy to say. So we'll see there. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. Now, here is another one. The auto sector could be significantly affected by tariffs, potentially wiping out cost savings for U.S. car companies that have shifted production to Mexico. So we were talking about bringing manufacturing back to the United States. Sure seems like that is a direct cause there, or a direct lever of some of these tariffs. The tariffs could also increase the cost of imported construction materials by $3 billion to $4 billion, as per the National Association of Home Builders. Our chat here, Hustle and Bustle, and Conditionally Accepted, already confirming that that's the case. I think lumber was the example used. So we'll see. We'll see where this all goes. Like I said, a lot of inputs on here, a lot of back and forth. And then obviously the big one here that I know everyone kind of just thinks of right off the top here, consumer electronics, home appliances, toys, footwear, most of which were imported from China, are also at risk due to Trump's tariff threats. You know, I also heard on CNBC that a lot of like the cheap stuff, like from Temu and even on Amazon and AliExpress and Alibaba and all of that, those are going to be much more expensive, perhaps not as competitive. So a lot to see in that realm as well. I'll be honest, if there are less kind of cheap Chinese-made products in my price range for the things I'm shopping for or being sold to me on Amazon, I don't necessarily see that as a negative, at least not right now. We'll see how that shakes out over the next, I don't know, however long this ends up going on. Okay. Were you guys tired of a tariff story? I hope not, because we got one more. Trump's tariffs, a strategic gift to Xi Jinping of China, says an Obama-era Treasury Secretary. Jobs in the industrial heartland will be lost. So here you go. We're going to give you both sides of this. Like I said, I don't know which way this is going to go, but Lawrence Summers, this is someone that has worked for the Obama administration and is no fan of Trump and the Trump administration. He is going to let you know what he thinks here. In a series of posts on X, Summers voiced his disapproval of Trump's tariffs, stating that they are, quote, a strategic gift to Xi Jinping, end quote. He warned that the tariffs could lead to a price increase for oil, food, and cars, possibly necessitating a response from the Federal Reserve in the form of raised interest rates. Now, this is an interesting dynamic here. What will the Fed do? Fed has pretty much told us that they are not in a hurry to cut. they're going to wait. We just had the Fed meeting last week. They're on pause. I know a lot of folks are saying that they're likely going to remain on pause March, June, maybe, or May, maybe even June. So it'll be interesting to see how the Fed kind of threads this needle. Now, when they asked Powell about Trump's comments, he said he wasn't going to respond to that. It wouldn't be appropriate to do so. It'll be interesting to see as things happen with tariffs, how that changes and how Powell's answer to that changes. I don't know the answer. That's definitely something that we are going to want to see shake out here. Summers further predicts job losses in the industrial heartland as American producers struggle with higher input costs. He also expressed concerns over potential loss of trust from Canada and Mexico and the subsequent economic and security risks. We've heard a lot about that before. Trump's already kind of made comments on these very left-leaning governments. I'm not too sure I put too much stock into that at all, to be quite honest with you. Nonetheless, we'll see which way this goes. Summers summarized the thread by saying Xi Jinping is given an excuse for his economic failures and a more open door to all our allies as we prove our unreliability by bullying. So safe to say here, Summers not a fan of Trump's tactics. We'll see. Round one, fight. Who is going to win this, Trump or Summers? Place your bets. Okay. Next story here. This is somewhat related, but it's related more to one of the stocks that we take a look at. And actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to start with the chart here. We're going to break this up a little bit. Go to TSM. We're going to start with the chart. So here we go. TSM, you have kind of not really a clean, but kind of like a janky double top area here, right up here at 220.20. Now, we did end up breaking this. We went as high as 225. We've really kind of come back in. This is where we're at now, down here at about 201. Now, 201.82. The current 50-day moving average is 201.70. So basically, these headlines here in the pre-market so far have taken TSM down to its 50-day moving average. Of course, you folks know what the next question I have is this going to hold? If it does, do we break down to the 100-day, which is where we bounced on the DeepSeek fiasco? And this also, by the way, we'll see how the candle finishes. But this also, by the way, now gives us another data point. So if we want to take a look at trend here, we might do something like that. We'll see where this candle ends up finishing here today. I'm going to go ahead and leave that on the screen here just to see if that trend gets invalidated if we do sell off, or does this kind of mark the bottom? Again, keep it in mind here that the low, at least so far from this morning, not as bad as the low from last Monday when we had DeepSeek. So again, we'll see here on TSM's. Also worth noting here, if we get above this, 215, let's call it, we do have a gap up to that 222 area. So a gap above, if we are able to make some strength, we'll see if TSM is able to do that. But let's get back here to the story real quick. TSM shares fell as much as 6.6% on the Taiwan exchange, marking their steepest decline in nearly 6 months. The sell-off dragged down Taiwan's benchmark TALEX. This is all because of these of the tariffs and also DeepSeek. So really the question here from this article is, do we expect to see more downside here in TSM given all of the stuff that's going on with this, whether it be tariffs or DeepSeek? The decline follows DeepSeek's announcements of its R1 AI model, which the company claims developed for just $5.6 million. We discussed that a lot last week, a figure that has drawn skepticism from industry experts like Wedbush's Dan Ives, dismissed the claim as likely a fictional story. So again, we'll see if this kind of rears its head. Does this come back? Do we still, does the market still kind of think that maybe this was a little overblown last week? Now we have another potential negative layered on top of it. How will TSM trade this week? That is definitely going to be the question. Okay, let me go back here real quick and see if I missed anything from you guys. You guys, I will say, I did have a lot to go through here, and I didn't have a lot of this news memorized, so I did kind of have to read off of a note sheet. So I apologize for not being able to especially while I'm by myself here, not being able to highlight every single comment. Believe me, I'm going to try and incorporate you folks as much as we possibly can. Okay, as much as we possibly can. Okay, let's see. What did I miss here? Just trying to go over it. Tariffs don't seem to be affecting Palantir. Tom, we're going to get there in a sec because Palantir actually reports earnings here today, and that is an interesting chart setup as well. So that should be interesting. Okay. Temu predicts full of poison. Move your goalposts a little bit. Long term doesn't touch that keyboard. I'm not sure what that was referring to, Mixed. Sorry about that. Michael says America first, tax them all. That's pretty much what Trump is saying. Appliances, Greg says appliances are going up. Okay. I'm not a fan of Summer, but he's right in this case. That's awesome. Big B is saying tariff doubters need to check what Robert Lighthizer, former Trump official, the 18th U.S. Trade Representative, said over the weekend. Big B's, let me know if you can grab those there. If you can grab those comments there. Maybe the producer has them as well. Thank you for saying hello to us like you do, Ryan. It's a very kind gesture. I don't have many friends, but I feel like I belong here. Hey, look, one of the reasons that I wanted to do this a little bit differently, I wanted people to feel like that. I want to incorporate you guys as much as possible. This is not meant to be a one-way street, right? Like if we had that, you could just turn on CNBC. You could just turn on Bloomberg. This is actually meant to be something different. So I want to incorporate as many people as possible. Happy to have you here, Matthew. Okay. Let's see what else man, you guys absolutely crushing it here. Wackadoodle saying the Panama issue seems to be resolving with Secretary Rubio's visit. We don't even have a whole lot of headlines on that, but you're right. We'll see how that ends up reading. Don't read comments from Mix. He's clearly delusional. No, I read comments from everybody. That's for sure. Let's see. What else did I miss here? Palantir is good software, but hardware could be delayed. Okay. All right. Let's get back to it here real quick. Sorry, I just wanted to catch up there. And again, we will do more of that here today. Let's see. What was next on the list? Plunge over 6%. Palantir is next on the list. Let's do it, and then we'll talk about Bitcoin. Actually, let's just do Bitcoin here real fast, and then we'll go to Palantir, because I also want to go to the chart, and I want to draw up any potential trade ideas that you folks might have. So we'll likely spend a little bit more time on Palantir. But let's take a quick look at Bitcoin real quick. Leading cryptocurrency witnessed a massive sell-off on Sunday as President Donald Trump's tariff war pounded capital markets. Here we go. The rest of the market was hit more severely. Ethereum plunged over 25% to a nearly 3-month low. Dogecoin plummeted 26%. Actually, I was looking at Bitcoin earlier. We can actually go back to a Bitcoin chart here. One of the things that was notable from over the weekend, and I didn't participate in any of this trading. I've just been kind of waiting for this to kind of settle itself out. Let me go ahead and share the right screen here. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin did a really good job defending 91K. So we've been looking at this Bitcoin chart here. You hear me mention the Bitcoin futures chart. I keep that chart up, so I'm constantly referring to it. But if we actually take a look at the Bitcoin spot price chart here, you'll notice that we did a really good job defending 91K. Now we're going to have to look inside in order to do that. You can see down here, let me actually turn the volume sticks off. Boom, we plunged right to 91K on the head, and we held it overnight. You can see we've bounced here. It does look like we're rolling over. The question is going to be, what downside level do we find some support here, if any, frankly? Maybe we get it at 94. Maybe we get it down here at 92 and change. Maybe it goes all the way to 91. Maybe it even breaks 91. So the overnight trade, 91K has held so far. That's definitely going to be a low of interest here today. If you're trading Bitcoin or any of the Bitcoin connected names like MicroStrategy or any of the miners or Coinbase or whatever it is, definitely want to watch that 91K level. I would imagine that if we snap that here, if we trade down to 91K and we break that, you're going to see more of the, quote, blood in the streets effect here in Bitcoin as we try to carve out a new support level. The one other thing I wanted to mention here, the top of this purple area, this is just about 90,000. Bottom end of this area, just about 85,000. So that 90 to 85,000 represents a pretty significant support area. And then again, the big one that I think everyone is talking about is going to be the 70 to 72K level. That's that big sideways area that we broke out of. So I'll say this, at least as it stands right here in February 3rd at 8:30 in the morning, if Bitcoin really gets pounded and we end up trading down anywhere near this 70 to 72,000 level, I'm going to convert more of my own personal fiat to Bitcoin. It's not going to be anything crazy, but I'm going to treat that as a buyable dip there on Bitcoin. If it breaks through this consolidation area and continues to move lower, I'm going to reassess what some of those levels are. But I'm just telling you right now, if Bitcoin trades back down to 70 to 72,000, I will be adding more USD at that time. Okay. Really quickly, Big B's, you had commented on Lighthizer comments there. Trump's former trade chief says China is a threat, tariffs are necessary, and he was on 60 Minutes last night. Couple of quotes here. I appreciate this. China, to me, is an existential threat to the United States. This has been long thought. This is nothing new. Lighthizer's just voicing it. It is very, very competent adversary. It is a very, very competent adversary. I beg your pardon. China views itself as number one in the world and wants to be that way. They're spying on us. They're taking our technology. They've been waging an economic war against the United States and winning that war for at least the last 3 decades. I believe in strategic decoupling. I'm not saying no economic relationship with China. That's not my position at all. I think you want balanced trade. And how do you get balanced trade? You're going to get balanced trade by having tariffs on most of what they send to us. So again, there you go. A little bit more depth into what's going on here. I know there's going to be a lot of hand-wringing, a lot of fear-mongering, a lot of that stuff going on with some of these tariffs. Here's a guy that has been involved in it for a while, giving you some more information about it. Big B's, I appreciate you finding those quotes here for me and giving them to me in such a nice, easy, readable way. That was really, really helpful. So really good stuff there. Okay, let's talk about Palantir. Let's talk about Palantir. Enough of the tariff stuff, at least for right now, because you know what, folks? It's going to be an all-day tariff thing here today. All right, let's do Palantir. Let me go ahead and put my watermark back on here so you folks can easily see that. And then let's also adjust some of the time frames here. Also give me a chance to catch my breath and have some of my green tea. Okay, Palantir. What's going on with Palantir? Well, number one, it is reporting earnings after the market closes here today. Palantir, I think at this point, it's safe to say this is one of the best stocks for our group over the last year. There have been a number of folks in here that have made an absolute killing. There have been a number of people at Benzinga that have been on Palantir for a long time. We've asked Matt Maley a number of times about Palantir, says he loves it long term. Okay, all that stuff. Great, great, great. Recently, we have what looks like a pretty clean double top here at about 85.13. Now, on Friday, we actually tested that level again and came back in from that level. I don't think that was a coincidence. Now, here we are hanging out at about 80.55. Palantir is down 2.35% here today, with the NASDAQ being down 1.28%. I don't think there's anything really kind of out of line here. This is down a little bit more ahead of the earnings. That really isn't shocking to me at all. It's also worth noting now that this level that we're at, this does kind of go back to the beginning of December, to that December 9th candle marked this level here on Palantir. The other thing that you'll have to, or that you want to notice is, again, we traded all the way down to this 73-ish level on Monday last week with DeepSeek. We are still 6 points higher from that here today. So even if we continue to trade in on Palantir, we're still not going to be at where we were for those DeepSeek lows. Now, obviously, Palantir reporting earnings here tonight. Let's see. Did I have stats here on that? No, I didn't. Let's go to the actual article here. Share this with you, and I'm sure the producer already did it because he's awesome. Okay, Palantir Technologies, the AI behemoth that has been in the headlines for artificial intelligence platform, has been the forerunner in providing data analytics tools to government customers for intelligence gathering here. Obviously, we've highlighted a lot about this stock. A, being expensive, B, having a bunch of military contracts. I think the overall thing that we've discussed here is, do fundamentals matter on Palantir? The answer seems to be not yet. We'll see if that changes here with this earnings print. The rise of China's DeepSeek with its open source AI model and lower development costs raises the question about how it might impact the future growth of Palantir. Now, much like what we suspected last week about wanting to hear some of these CEOs talk about AI, what DeepSeek means, the future of AI, funding, spending, all of that stuff. We should expect similar things here out of Palantir. Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, he's no stranger to giving you his opinion, no stranger to saying explosive things in a lot of cases here. So we'll see if we get that here again. Recently discussed the growing competition in artificial intelligence from DeepSeek, which raised apprehensions in the US's position in the AI race. Karp remains optimistic that national security will help protect U.S. advancements from manipulation of theft. So we'll see here what Palantir ends up doing here today. Valued at nearly $200 billion, has seen substantial growth, largely due to increasing demand for its AI solutions. We'll see if that continues up as well. Let me go back here to Palantir on the chart real quick. Let's share this. And then also wanted to take a quick look here for earnings. The one here for today, they're estimating an 11-cent EPS, and they're estimating 775.9 million in revenue. So just about 776 million in revenue. Last quarter, they estimated 701 million and actually gave you 725 million. So we'll see again here if they stepped that up on Palantir. So the next question that I have for the group here, first of all, is Palantir going to be in play today? Yes, it sure is. Here's a look at the 1-minute chart. You can see this is obviously moved down with some of the tariff news. Really does look like it's trying, at least right now, to hold 80. We've traded up off those lows. So is this going to be volatile here today? Yes, this is going to be just like some of the other tech stocks that are affected by this tariff news, but you also have this print coming up here tonight. So I'd like to know, first of all, is anyone playing Palantir for earnings? If so, what direction are you playing it for earnings? And if not, are you considering playing this during the regular session today just because it's likely going to be volatile? Conditionally accepted, saying Palantir a little too choppy for me. So it doesn't sound like you are going to be playing that here for earnings. HG, Palantir, potential double top depending on how earnings goes. Potential nothing, NG. We've got a double top here. Really, the question is going to be, are those earnings strong enough to bust us through that double top? Given where we're at here at 80 and a half, let's just say the stock closes here at about 80 and a half and then really report some good earnings. Could I see it moving through that double top on volume? Yeah, I could. Even with Palantir being as extended as it is, we've seen this stock has a really, really great following. It's continued to trade higher even when we've been like, boy, the stock sure really needs a pullback. Doesn't really seem to pull back. Could it get through that double top? Yeah, I do. Is it going to? Your guess is as good as mine. That's what makes a market there. Buffalo by Bicycle saying Karp is great doing his conference calls from the ski slopes. It must be a pretty good life, right? Just do a quick conference call and then get out there and go skiing. There we go. Mixed Mastered Mike. Palantir has a unique opportunity at the moment in this geopolitical environment. Indeed, it does. And we'll see if the earnings kind of comments on that at all. Good morning, Sideshow Yakshamash. Hopefully you are well. Tom, love it. Giving you a trade idea here. Love this, Tom. Thinking about an 85.90 vert spread for February 21st. Okay, so you're thinking at least if this is going to be bullish, maybe it pops above that all-time high, but I don't, or the recent double top high here at about 85. but I really don't see it going much past 90. So we'll use the 90 calls to finance the purchase of the 85 calls. Tom, I think that makes a lot of sense there. Let me know if you get that filled, right? Let me know if you get that filled. And if anyone else has any thoughts or trade ideas here on Palantir, I'd love to hear it. Actually, I probably should have taken a look at some of those contracts there. And just to kind of follow up real quick. So I want to hear, hopefully we see Lion here today. Honestly, hopefully Lion shows up here. I know Lion definitely loves to attack volatility, so I'd be shocked if we don't see him unless there's a family matter going on. But Amazon, we talked about this trade last week. It's getting a little antsy ahead of the weekend. I know it was still holding it here. Things were kind of going slowly early on. We did grind back up, did put the order out at 240 and got it filled. So this worked. It wasn't a huge trade, but it was a nice trade. Held it overnight last week. So we're able to trade Izzy's Amazon here for a gain. Now that's flat, funds collected, and sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, because I had no idea that all these trade war headlines were coming. And if they did, I'd now be down in my position by several points. So thankfully, we were able to get out of that. We were also able to get out of the Nike position. We talked about this last week. When we started to get the headlines here about tariffs, remember, this was a trailer that was up several 100%. We actually had a lot of the gains booked in the first leg of this trade and partial of the second leg of this trade. So this was just a trailer. Closed this too before the weekend last week. And again, Nike here down by 2.2%. So we've cleared the books of some of these trades. We'll be looking to hit some more here today. Really, the question is going to be, do we look to really short this market? Is this the dip that you should not buy, or do we come back down to balance here, or do we come back to balance here, and do we actually play this dip? So, okay, real good stuff. Been rambling for about 45 minutes here. Hopefully I've caught you up on all of the news. Now let's bring in another market mind. We're going to bring on 13, and we're going to see what he thinks of all of the madness going on. 13, happy Monday, my man. How are you doing here today?
I'm doing great. Let's have a good morning. I know that we have a lot of red on the screen right now with the tariffs taking, the tariffs that are supposed to occur tomorrow. Already starting to have their effect, but this is going to create opportunities for us. So let's see if we can capture some volatility, folks. What do you say?
Yeah, I think that is the absolute perfect mindset to have. Welcome, good morning. Let's have a great week, 13. Just to kind of catch you up here, 13, I had a couple of stats that I shared with the group that I also want to share to you. Okay. First of all, happy Monday. Here we go on another Monday with a big news story from over the weekend that's caused the market to panic and shake and rattle and roll and do all of that stuff. So you know what my question is going to be. Is this a buyable dip, or is this the one that we don't buy? Now, a couple of stats here. I don't expect you to give me a for sure answer right now. If you don't have one, we'll see how the day plays out. But a couple of things that I did want to mention. First of all, when we showed up Monday morning to the DeepSeek story, the VIX had printed a high of 2251. Mm-hmm. This time around, the high was 2041. So already we're seeing, at least early on, a lower reading here in the VIX. It's worth mentioning that when we did have that 2251 print last Monday, the VIX melted all day. So we need to see if we get the same type of behavior here today. Could be the opposite. I don't know. Just mentioning that the VIX here was actually lower. The other thing to mention is that on that whole DeepSeek move down, remember, the low was put in the pre-market. The market continued to trade up. We never even tested that low. Are we going to get the same type of thing here today? Or maybe do we even roll over and retest that 590, 589 low in the SPY in the regular session? So again, just kind of wanted to set that up. We just now 2 weeks in a row, we're showing up on Monday and the market looks a little weak. What do you think here today?
Well, today and last Monday, we've been selling off for two very different reasons. And, this reason that we're selling off today is, I guess, a lot more solvable in the short term. So, I think this situation could be remedied given some concessions. So we'll have to see how that, plays out on the international stage as Trump meets with Mexico and Canada. I believe it's today.
Correct.
So, we could have a resolution come out of this today. But, if we don't, and we start to move into tomorrow when the tariffs are supposed to take effect, then we could really start to see the moves in the market as you know we would expect them to be. Like it should be a pretty sharp turn down. The thing that I've been keeping an eye on, because I think it's a gauge as to how much of an appetite traders and investors have for risk, has been Bitcoin. And seeing as how we have a double top in that now, and we are really starting to sell off here. I mean, I was texting you about it yesterday. Like it was really getting hammered. It hasn't broken down beneath some lows, like from last month, where let's see, on the 13th, I think we got to as low as just under 90,000. So that area there is going to be a key level, and we almost we tested it yesterday on the way down. I think we did like a 91 and change. So I would expect there to be a rebound in Bitcoin today, maybe for the next, maybe even tomorrow, or at least until the tariffs start to take effect. But if we don't get a resolution of that, those tariffs, I think we're going to start to see Bitcoin really come down, and as well as the rest of the market, because it's going to be a very risk-off kind of sentiment at that point. So that's just kind of what I'm looking at. I'm watching Bitcoin. It's the top risk asset. So whatever it does, I'm gonna kind of take what it does into consideration for how the market's going to react. And I think if it goes down, the market goes down.
Very, very well said. Bitcoin definitely has been one of the indicators to tell us that this is risk on or risk off. And your spots there, exactly right. This thing definitely defended 91K last night, actually printed 91K on the head and held. So the buyers kept us above 91K there. Do we roll over and retest that level here today? Like I said, a lot of good stuff there, 13. A lot of good stuff on Bitcoin.
I haven't answered your question yet, though.
Okay.
Is this the dip to buy? If we do not get the resolution on the tariffs before tomorrow, then no, I don't think this will be a dip to buy yet. I think the market is going to pull in some more, and we want that because it's going to create a lot of buying opportunities, Bitcoin included. So if we don't get these, if we don't get a resolution of this, I think that this will not be the dip to buy. Let's just be patient, let the market come in. And when we start to see a bottom, or we start to get a resolution of those tariffs, perhaps then would be a good time to start considering going long again.
Okay, really well said there. And I would reiterate, I know we saw what we saw last week. We played it the way that we played last week. I don't know what's going to happen here today, but I'm going to watch the action here today. I'm going to take a look at what these companies do and what the market actually does here today. And I'm going to be ready for either one. Right. Tom, bringing up, you had kind of commented on it earlier here when you had mentioned that Trump is going to talk with both the leaders of Canada and Mexico here today. He said as much early on, so maybe we get some more news out of there. Give us a really clear timeline there. Tom here from the chat saying the simple fix for Mexico, just show Trump that you're making changes to the border. It's real easy. And we actually kind of get that from the executive order. We kind of heard that from Hassert. We've heard that from Trump himself, but I know people put Trump's comments in their own bucket, which is totally fine. So we've kind of seen that. And Tom, I think you're onto something here. Will we see that today? Will we see that in short order? Will the Mexican government even be cooperative at all? All of those are legitimate questions. And so we'll see how that ends up playing out here today.
Do we even know what is going to get Trump to pull back on the tariffs? If Canada and Mexico offer some concessions, like what is going to be what's going to move the marker?
Yes, absolutely, we do. Again, this is directly from the executive order. This is not about a trade war. This is about a drug war. And actually, Kevin Hassert was on CNBC saying the same thing here today. This is about the flow of fentanyl into the United States and then also subsequently into Canada. Okay, so if we see any of that type of border restrictions and crack down on any of that, I would imagine you're going to see some of these things fold really, really quickly. This has been from the outset of this. Now, I don't know if we're going to see that, but that's kind of how they're setting this up. Okay, that's kind of how they're setting this up. So we'll see. Lion, good to have you here today. We were just talking about you. I'm glad you're here. We can't wait for that. And also, folks, I know the producers probably already put this up. Be sure to vote in the poll here today. Love the data that we got from the group last week. Can't wait to get the data from the group this week as well. Okay.
All right.
Bruce says has nothing to do with the border. Bruce, I completely disagree. I completely disagree. Pretty much everyone from his administration has said the opposite of that. So if you think that they're not telling the truth or they're doing their own thing, I totally understand. But from everything that the executive order has said and from the people in his camp that have said, this is definitely about the border. There's a huge tie in there. So again, we'll see how it all shakes out. I'm not going one side or the other. I'm just telling you what we've known.
Oh, I agree. This is definitely about the border. Whether or not it's actually about drugs at the border, I think it's a little bit more than that. But we'll just keep that opinion tucked away for a little bit. Let's talk about movers. How about that?
Yeah, let's do that. And we should have plenty of them here today, in addition to some of the bigger stocks that are going to be moving around as well. So let's jump over to the movers tool here, and we'll start with the big one, which some of the community is already trading here. GHRS. GH researches inhalable, depression treatment. GH001 hits the primary endpoint in a phase 2B trial showing symptom reduction. Okay, so pretty good here. This stock has moved from just about $10 last week. It's 20 here in the pre-market. This was as high as 24 earlier. Let's take a quick look around the horn here. 13, I'm not even sure if you covered this one, but I'm guessing that since it's one of the biggest movers with news, you probably did. Quick look around the horn here. Short interest, 16.3% of the float shorted, 20.24 days to cover. So you definitely have some squeezing action here today that we might have already seen and we might continue to see as this shakes out here over the course of the regular session. Float 14.79 million on average. The stock trades just about 80,000 shares. Today, we've traded 3.7 million here. So I expect this number to continue to grow. 13, what do you got here? What do you got on ticker GHRS?
One thing that popped out to me, aside from the headline, was the short interest, 16.3 with over 20 days to cover. So we are getting a bit of a squeeze here on the news as well. As far as the phase 2B trial result, this is one of two types of drugs for them to do the similar things. GH001 and GH002. 001 is the inhaled version, and 002 is the IV version. The phase 2B trial that it just completed, that was for the GH001 treatment-resistant depression. They also have a couple of other trials going on for that same drug, a couple of phase 2As. One of them is for bipolar 2 disorder, and the other is for postpartum depression. So this company is really working on this particular inhaled version of the drug. The IV is still, I believe, in phase 1. They have plenty of cash to get through this phase and the remaining phase 2As of GH001. And they are likely going to be able to move right into phase 3 with no problem. I don't see them needing to raise capital anytime soon with the amount of cash they have on hand. So that's what's going on with this company. 14.79 million shares in the float, like you said. I'll take a look at this in my broker, and we can look at some levels here. Mm-hmm. So it looks like we are coming up to a little bit of a. Oh no, we broke through it. I'm sorry. We are breaking through some multiple resistant levels today. That last one was 15, and we are moving up to, so we're at over 20 now. So we have just gotten up to where this next resistance area is, about 2030. So as soon as we get into that zone, there's going to be some a bunch of different resistance levels from there till and going all the way up to 2160. I have a high of 3043. I don't know that we'll see that today, but we've seen some of these crazy things, go to the previous all-time highs and higher. I don't know that we'll get that today, but those levels there that we're coming up to, the resistance areas around 2030 and 2160. That's that was, I would mark off and just kind of keep an eye on them for turnaround.
Okay, real good stuff there with the levels. GHRS, we'll see if we get that here. Also, here, let me see. Well, when it opens up here, we'll see how spready this name is. Again, with the float not as low as some of these other crazy movers, this might actually be a little bit easier to trade. like some of our other movers. But we'll see. We'll see how that all plays out. When
it's really putting in a bit of a consolidation area here. So if we start losing altitude here into the open, this consolidation that it's been putting in at about $20, that's going to be resistance. And then of course you have the VWAP above that. So something to keep in mind if we start to lose altitude here. 1580 where the 65 EMA is, that could be support. But if we see this start to go down, it might have a hard time getting back up to into the 20s.
Okay. Real good stuff there. GHRS. This one definitely going to be in play here today. Next is going to be REBN. This is Reborn Coffee, and this is a play Reborn because I know that we've traded this recently. Obviously, we traded this on Friday as well. Reborn Coffee shares are trading higher after the company announced it improved a franchisor in the U.S. and is intending to expand across the country. So, okay, that headline there, I believe, is from Jan 23.
Yeah,
right?
That's not why it's moving today.
So this is the old one. So it does look like it's moving on the relative volume from the trading that we got there on Friday. Let's do another quick look around the horn here. Short interest, 13.65% of the float shorted. Remember, that reading was from 4 days after this piece of news that we got, so that encompasses some of that. Days to cover, 4.64, not quite above 5, but still elevated, still potentially squeezy there. 2.51 million shares in the float here, ticker REBN. So 13, you got any levels here for this that we should pay attention to here today?
Yeah, real quick though, it does have because you mentioned everything else, but I was taking a look at the financials. It does have some cash, but or I'm sorry, it needs cash. It's going to probably do a capital raise at some point, but they're very close to profitable. So I'm not sure if they'll need to, especially with that news they just got in January. I don't know if they'll do a capital raise or not, but I just wanted to point that out because they are pretty close to being profitable now. As far as where we're headed now, it looks like down is the direction for the moment. But there is going to be some support at 450. As you can see from this price action we've had since we opened in pre-market, we blasted off up through that 450 area. And ever since that time, we've been seeing it provide support. So that first impulse move, it was support. We moved away from there all the way up to 820. And then as soon as we started selling off, you might not have it, but I have a couple wicks that came right down, got down to 447 before it snapped right back up. So 450, it looks like it's going to be a support area. At least that's what I would be viewing it as for the time being as we melt down into the open here. We also have the 200 EMA just beneath that area at 426. So we are coming down to some support levels, but we are really starting to sell off here and move away from that VWAP. And we start to get some EMAs, some shorter time frame EMAs crossing the larger ones to the downside. That's never good. So I would just be careful with this one. Wait for it to find a bottom before we start trading it, because I think we might head lower first.
Yeah, to your point here, this has to hold at some point, right? We've really kind of come in off those highs. Looks like Jaywalker has already shorted this thing from 7.
Oh, wow.
Jaywalker, okay, here we go. We're going to get the cash register rings and sound effects started early here today. Kudos to you. This thing really needs to have to hold here. I think you also mentioned 450 as a potential level in there, 450 to 5. This definitely support A right now, right? If this loses this here, I think you can probably kind of wait this one out. Maybe we do kind of curl off of this. And actually with a VWAP here at 613, if we do curl, if we do end up holding this area and make another move towards the highs, even if it's not towards that $8 high, should actually have some pretty good range here on REBN. So, okay, really good breakdown there. REBN, we'll see if this one gets rolling here today, if we have a good trade setup on this. Now, next I have SOPA, Society Pass. This is one that our group should definitely be familiar with. We've traded this a number of times. I've actually seen this run recently. Last time was Tuesday after hours, January 21st. This thing ran. Was really kind of a bummer the next day on Wednesday in the morning, where it held into the pre-market, but then really kind of sold off here. Well, we traded up on Friday. We traded even higher in the after hours. And then today we ramped. Now, I had no news on this Hong Kong company. Let me check again here, make sure I didn't miss anything. Nope. No news here. Again, short interest 0.49% with 1 day to cover. That is negligible. I don't think that's going to factor in to what's going on here today at all. There is still 3.15 million shares in the float. So this is right in our butter range here. 13, what do you think on SOPA?
I think I was starting to look at this one, and then I was like, yeah, it's just kind of junk. And then I just said, let's go ahead and see if they want to bring me on. So that's what I did. I just I looked at the float, 3.15 million. This is moving because relative volume had a big volume day on Friday. So that change in volume is putting a lot of eyes on this stock. So I think that's just what we're seeing here is just the relative volume movement. As far as levels go, we have broken through the 200-day EMA, so and over 2 as well. But we've come up to some resistance around 230, I believe, is where we topped out at 239. So that's an area where it shows there was resistance from about February, not actually almost a year ago to the day. But beyond that, if we get above that, then I see another resistance area at 350. So that's that should be something to watch for if we continue to push up. Now, if this is another one of these China pumps, this could really get moving, and I could start naming off some other levels too if we really start to see some upward momentum happen where it takes us through 350 and higher. I'll just put out those levels at that point. But for now, it's just moving on relative volume, and we're trading above VWAP right now. We just hit a pre-market high of 239. And we're coming back in. So as long as we start, hold VWAP to into the open, we could turn around and go higher. But it looks like $2 is a very, very important support level, as it was resistance earlier on Friday and in the pre-market this morning before we broke through it at about 7 o'clock this morning. And now we're using it as support.
Okay. Real good stuff there on SOPA for a stock that really doesn't have any fresh news. Really good layout there. We'll see if we get it. I will say, where this is trading up on relative volume, I will say that the volume that we've seen here in the pre-market, this is encouraging. It's continued to expand here. The price, it did make a violent move, but it was a violent move to the upside, and the pullbacks here were relatively normal, right? We didn't see any massive breakdown or give back here. Things look to be all right. At least so far. Yeah.
I took a look at one of the penny stocks just because it was at the top of the list, and I figured, what the heck, it couldn't hurt to look. And this, so it's XIII.
I think someone was already mentioning that here. Really quick before you get into that, sure. I want to highlight this comment here. Kyle saying Trump Tariffs Tantrum is the name of this section in future textbooks. So, Kyle, I appreciate you shouting that out because the stream name here today was my idea. I got to say, so I was really kind of happy about that. The fact that you've noticed that if this makes it to a textbook section at some point in the future, I'll be a happy person. All jokes aside here. Okay, let's take a look at HCWB. Yeah. This is HCW Biologics. Shares are trading higher after the company announced FDA clearance for a phase 1 trial of one of its drugs here. This did trade above $1 briefly, but has lost it since then. Looks like it's flirting with that level. 13, I didn't have this one on my list at all because it was a penny stock. Break it down like a fraction for me, boss.
So I, you know how I feel about these penny stocks, but I figured, it's really close to $1, and this is clinical drug trial results, or at least that's what I thought when I first saw it. And then I was like, oh, this is just clearance for a phase 1. So I was like, okay, well, that's not really super important news. I mean, it's great for the company, but it really doesn't. I haven't really seen it amount to anything, because it just means that they're going to get ready to spend money on a phase 1 trial. So when I started taking a look at that, I noticed that they're and their more recent news. I noticed that they received a delisting notice. They have 26 million shares in the float, and they are under $1, which was already obvious that we saw, and they need cash. So I'm just like, all those things in consideration, it looks like this company is going to reverse split, and they're going to do an offering. So those are going to be future things that are going to happen with HCWB if they're going to remain on the exchange. So that is something you can expect to happen, because we've seen it with all these delisting notices. That's exactly the course of action they take in order to become compliant again. So that's something to watch for today, if you how far out in the future you want to trade this. But just to understand that the risk that comes with holding into a reverse split and offerings, it's very, very bad, or it can be very bad. So just understand what you're getting into if you decide to trade this today, or even decide to hold it.
Okay, really good stuff there, 13. And I think what I like the most about that, we talk a lot about recognizing patterns, things that you notice happen to stocks, then being able to kind of play that same type of thing in the future. This is exactly what you're doing here. Very, very well laid out there, HCWB. We'll see if we get that here on this penny stock.
I saw that Diamond was asking, why is Meta selling off? And in a risk-off environment, you're going to get a lot of the really big runners. Meta's been one of them. You're going to see profit taking and even position unwinding. You're also going to, because this is also the beginning of the month, we also have inflows, so there's also going to be some rebalancing as well. It's going to be a very volatile day with everything that's happening just in the beginning of this week. Yeah.
I'll say this. Meta, after the look at this first, so here's your daily chart. So look at this run, and we've talked about Meta a lot recently. This thing's been on an absolutely magnificent run recently. Looking over at the NASDAQ here, the NASDAQ future is down 1.8%. Meta's down 2% here in the pre-market. To me, this is a nothing burger. This to me is nothing more than a healthy move with all the news that we're seeing here. Now, to 13's point about today being volatile, indeed. Can this change? Sure, this can change in a hurry. But so far, seeing a 2% pullback, I know it's 14 points because Meta is so expensive, but seeing a 2% pullback off some of these recent highs after a huge move higher, given the fact that the market is having a tariff temper tantrum, got that right without screwing it up. I don't, this is not a terrible thing. If this starts to accelerate, if this starts to lead to way down, maybe we'll adjust our thinking on that, but I don't think there's really anything here. Now, as far as your other point there about the question regarding the social media thing, remember, we still have the whole TikTok thing going on. And I think that Meta, the price of that is likely to respond to headlines about that, perhaps even more than some of the tariffs. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong about that. We'll see how that shakes out here today. The way I'm looking at this right now, I don't think this is really unhealthy at all.
I think there may be a concern that these tariffs could affect, their e-commerce segment of their business. That could be another concern. But this thing looks like it's going to have multiple support levels. It has to still break through. First one being 635, the other one being 6 even. It's like 600 even. So you have some levels on the way down that we can play for at the very least a bounce. Or if you think it's good go long at any of those support areas, maybe for a reversal. And we can talk about that as the week progresses. But I think the first thing that we're going to want to do is just wait and see what happens with this tariffs and if they actually go into effect tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's really good there. Okay, quickly, a couple of other things that I wanted to comment here. Steve saying today is definitely a day to watch the market and make some moves. I think I'm going to get some billing done quickly so I can ignore work for a bit. I feel you there. I will say I'm going to put out the same warning that I put out last week. This is not the day to overreact and make knee-jerk reactions to things that you see. If you are going to try and trade some of the news flow, as we've outlined here, we've obviously got a depressed market on the tariff headlines now. We expect there to be more headlines about some of these negotiations today. They could be negative. They could be positive. We don't know. If what you're trying to do is to trade those things, then I think you seem to be prepared. You're on top of all of this. My big message or whatever that I'm trying to get out here, don't make knee-jerk reactions, right? Think your way through it. Stay calm and react to things in a measured way. Don't overreact to things.
I know it'd be really, really cool to have this day happen and to end this day with massive win and be like, yeah, I traded this, I went long on this, I shorted this, and I had all these gains. This is not the type of day to be a hero. Don't be a hero. Just trade what makes sense to you, like you always do, and stick to your rules. You'll be fine.
Yep.
You'll have a great day.
Yep.
You start trying to be a hero, you're going to lose.
Yep. Totally agree there. Totally agree there. I think Carmen's got it right here today too. Totally agree with Ryan. Just sitting back and enjoying the show. Maybe there will be something that you can take advantage of. Maybe something that you've been waiting for a while will get to a more attractive price. Who knows? Could be a lot of stuff going on here. Izzy saying buy stocks for the long term. Izzy, good to see you. Happy Monday, my man. Real quickly, just as I mentioned earlier at the outset of the show, just because I've been having some fun with you about Amazon, thankfully and luckily, fingers crossed, we're able to exit that Amazon position at 240 on the dot. My limit order did get filled late on Friday, and oh my, looks like good luck here today. We'll see. Let me know. Are we looking for more of a dip buy on Amazon here today? Worth noting, very much like I'm mentioning this all morning, but very much like we saw here on DeepSeek, we did get a buying opportunity in the pre-market. Will that mark the bottom, or will we retest some of these lows? That is yet to be seen. We'll see that here today. Okay. Let's see. Did I miss anything else?
We were getting asked about the lag 7.
The lag 7.
That was a good one.
I like it. Hey, I like it.
That was a hustle and bustle asking about levels on the full lag 7.
Real quickly here, Aura Alpha. This is an interesting question. Ryan, any long-term additions that you are eyeing? So this is a great question. Yes. The one that is always on my long-term list that I'm always eyeing is Costco. Now, I don't know that Costco is really going to get hammered on this. If it does, I'll wait and see. And I'm not sure that we're going to get this big down move that everyone is expecting into a buyable area in short order. So I'll say this. In answer to your question, Costco, probably the only thing I really have on my list right now. Maybe I'll throw PanW on there because cybersecurity is going to be a theme for me. We'll throw CrowdStrike on there too, so Amanda doesn't wrap my knuckles with a ruler. What I will say, though, is if this sell-off continues to trade down, and if the market gets to some of these other key levels, that list that you're asking about, long-term addition list, that's going to grow because I'll have more of a feel for what's going on and what I think is a fair price for some of those long-term stocks. But as I sit here this morning, I want more information about where we're going to go from this piece of news, and I would, if I pressed, the only two that I would put on there right now, Cost and PanW. The long-term Apple position that I have, if I were to trade around that, it would literally be that. It would be trading around the core position. I'd probably use options to do that. So I wouldn't even have Apple on this list at this time. Okay. We got 15 minutes till we open. Do you want to do something in particular?
Well, I was just starting to take a look at the lag 7, and Tesla, I can provide some levels that I see. So 385, when I look at let's say a 5-minute time frame, 385 looks like there has been some support in that area. And if you just look at what the trading was like over the past week on a smaller time frame, you can see how that particular level had a lot of reversal price action. So I'm thinking that 385 is going to be an important support level. And if we lose that, I think we would need to focus on the psych levels on the way down. That would be 380, 375. I don't have a specific level I could point out if we lose the 385 handle. But I would start looking at those psych levels in increments of 5 on the way down if we lose that.
That 385 level, I think, is spot on. 13 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of last week. This level came into play. I think you're spot on there. I think that level is going to come into play again. Yeah,
and I'm concerned about that level too, because the way we're coming into it right now looks like we could break through it.
Yeah. With you there. Okay, real quick, we were asking about, Aura, you were asking about things for the long-term list. I think Mike was giving us an answer. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were saying software and healthcare might be other names for that. Let me know if that plays into Aura's question or if those are just things that you're interested in.
I was reading a lot this morning about how some funds are selling a lot of things, but they're holding on to real estate. So that could be something to keep an eye on, real estate, because in inflationary environments, real estate tends to do well. So just something that I was taking a look at. Keep an eye on real estate. I know that doesn't sound intuitive because their REITs are tied to interest rates, and if we see a rise in interest rates, then it's like, well, that doesn't work very well for REITs. But we are going through a whole period right now where with mass deportation, we have we're very low on supply of homes. We just lost a whole bunch in California. There's some things that are already pressuring low home prices. So and I say that in quotes. But we could see home prices continue to rise if we get into an inflationary environment again.
Yeah, and one of the other things that we discussed earlier here, 13, regarding the tariff headlines, lumber, one of the exports from Canada to the U.S., that would affect new home prices as well. So there's some other levers that are affecting that as well. So good stuff.
And hustle and bustle, the home salesman, the realtor. Thank you for the praise. There's no greater hedge against inflation than real estate. There you go.
Boom. Okay. Mixed here. I'm sorry, I was reading through this. Costco was at 1,000 30 days ago or so, but it comes back in a few quarters. Costco only gets better as AI makes businesses more efficient. I'll be honest with you. Costco seems to only get better, period, whether it's AI or otherwise. It just seems to always get better. My trip there this weekend was amazing. I bought 2 new light fixtures for my home, modern LED light fixtures. I got one of them up already, and oh man, is it awesome. So anyway, just kind of an aside there, had a really good Costco trip this weekend. All right, did you want to go into any other lag 7 names? I know we've already kind of taken a look at Meta a little bit. The Tesla breakdown there was real good. Do we want to take a look at Apple? Maybe
we can look at Apple next, but I was just looking at NVIDIA because
and we'll start with NVIDIA. Sure,
we are okay. So we're one thing, because I mentioned this before. 117 was a very important support level. We're beneath that now. The other thing that we've broken beneath, or about to break beneath, is a support trend line. I'm sure you could probably. Oh, look, you actually might have it there already.
Well, this is the first trend line, but we can. Are we doing another one like here? I think.
Yeah. That's the one. That's how I drew it. I drew it from. Well, it goes a little bit further back, but you can start with the April 2024 low.
Yep.
Draw that through the August low where the yen carry trade unwound.
Yep.
And keep going, and you'll see that we are right there at that trend. Yeah, there you go. We are right beneath that trend line there, which is not what you want to see if you want to see NVIDIA go higher. So I think NVIDIA looks like it could be at risk of rolling over here. And 117 now is a resistance area.
Okay. Real good stuff there with NVIDIA. We'll see if we get that recaptured. The one thing to note here on NVIDIA when we were talking about this last week together was that how DeepSeek, or the DeepSeek article, really took us to the 200-day. It did look like NVIDIA was going to try and bounce at least that next day. In fact, we talked about that here on the show. I think somebody, or one of you, or maybe even several of you, took NVIDIA for a potential bounce trade there. We've actually given that up now, and we're moving lower here. So if we're unable to recapture this trend line 13 that you just spoke about, I would be starting to think that we need to start looking for some other downside targets here as this thing might firm up. Now, worth noting here, RSI is at 36, so we'll see where that finishes here today, but we might need to find some more NVIDIA targets here pretty soon.
Yeah, when it came to NVIDIA, and we were getting asked about the graphics card news, and I kind of just brushed it aside because I don't really think that's really what the excitement about NVIDIA is right now. But there were some concerning things I was starting to see with the video card segment, and it's how different benchmarks of performance, compared to its past iterations, were compared to the current series, which is the RTX 50 series. These are supposed to be, Blackwell GPUs. And when you have the RTX 5080 underperforming against the RTX 4090, that's not good. That's a step backwards because they've never done that before. Now, I don't.
So just really quickly, just so I understand correctly here, because I haven't looked into this, and frankly, if you have an article for this is the type of stuff I'd love to read about. Please link me. Okay. But basically, what you're saying here is that the 5080, so let's call it the midline card of the new series, actually benches lower than the 4090, the up model from last series. Yeah. Am I getting that correct?
Yeah. In addition, the 5090. Is not that big of a leap in performance over the 4090 as the 4090 was over the 3090. So
Okay.
there's a lot of concerning things here, and it's starting to make me think, well, maybe these Blackwell chips aren't everything that NVIDIA is saying they are. And I know it's really early, and I haven't done a whole lot of research into this, but based on what I've been seeing, there's been a lot of disappointment over the performance benchmarks of these new GPUs. And I think it's something that I think I'm going to have to look into some more, because they are Blackwell GPUs, and that's what's really been pushing NVIDIA up, is the anticipation of those AI architecture Blackwell GPUs. So I need to look into this some more, but it's a little bit of a concern I have.
Yeah, you've got my ears perked on that too. I was not necessarily in the market for a new GPU, but if you're telling me that the leap is not great, then that pretty much solves that.
And to Fairchild, to your point, yeah, there's no, I don't think there's a really big needle mover here with the graphics cards and how well they sold. I just think that it's just some things I've been seeing about the cards themselves and how they're performing could lead to some problems for the stock. And one other thing is that there's headlines about how these things are flying off the shelves. They ran out of inventory. They didn't make that many to begin with. So I think they were trying to avoid another RTX 30 series situation where they had an oversupply of stock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that there's other situations here at play too. And like I said, I need to do some more research on it. But so far, getting a little concerned about this information I'm finding.
Yeah, that's definitely something to watch. Again, I would like to reiterate, whatever you've read on that, link me. I'd like to read that too. A couple of really great comments here, starting with this one from the Hawk. As a 90s child, you're going to get me with, you're going to hit me right in the feels with comments like this. Blackwell son, won't you come and wash away the rain? This is a Soundgarden song changed around to fit the narrative here today. Well done, Hawk, here today. You're definitely going to get a comment from me out of that one. Daddy Backstrap also saying that there's a 30% leap in performance from this cut. I think what you're saying, Daddy Backstrap, from the 40 series to the comparable 50 series, you're seeing a 30% leap in performance. This number, at least on the page, seems pretty good. I'd be curious to know how that's actually playing out.
Yeah, I'll link you a bunch of different benchmarks. And
yeah, no, that's absolutely something. I admit I have not read up on that. Sometimes, especially around new product releases like that, I'm on top of it. I'm not in this case. That might play into it. Really good stuff there, 13. Really, really good stuff.
Conditionally accepted. When comparing you can't really compare GPUs to GPUs because the architecture.
Sorry to interrupt. I apologize, but David, really appreciate this. President Trump just said, I didn't see this one, but I'm going to assume that you're correct, David, because you've had a lot of really awesome news drops on our show. President Trump said he just met with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and said he will meet with him again today at 3 Eastern. The reason I'm highlighting this is because whatever we see here today, if we're being told that he's met one time, we didn't get any headlines out of it, and now there's another meeting scheduled for later in the day, I think it's pretty safe to assume that we're not going to have any really good tradable new information between then. Now, things could change, but this gives us a pretty good timeline there. Obviously, remember, the market closes at 4 Eastern, so we're probably not going to get headlines until after the market closes. That could make for some even more fireworks and volatility here. This is interesting. This is good stuff, David. Good stuff. Okay, do we want to take a look at individual names? Was there anything on the move? I think we covered all of the movers right there. There wasn't a whole lot of other news. Did anything come out? Let me just take a quick look here real quick. BCTX. Someone mentioned this one earlier, I think. Briacel shares trading higher after the company announced results and clinical response in its new breast cancer therapy early trial. Take a look at the 1-minute chart here. This is actually really good action. You can see we had an impulse move up to about 772 in the pre-market. We came all the way back down and we held 550. Now we're curling back up towards that area. Definitely watch that 772 area. VWAP here, we're actually pretty extended. VWAP here, 647 on BCTX. We've traded this one before. This one clearly giving us another opportunity here today. Volume actually looks pretty good. 5.6 million shares versus a 93,000 average. The float is 2.8 million. That fits right into our butter zone, if you will. 3.85 85% of the float shorted and just slightly over a day to cover. I got to say there's some short interest there, but I think that's probably negligible. I don't know. I know we're kind of going back and forth here. You may not have covered this one, but do you have anything here on BCTX?
No, I didn't look at this, but I'm looking at the chart right now, and the 5-minute chart, and it seems like the high here is 772 from when we got the news around 735. Having a hard time staying up there, so I'm wondering if this might be where we roll over into the open before we and test VWAP before we actually make the move higher. So that's kind of what I'm wondering with this one. I don't have any really coverage on this one. Just kind of telling you what I'm seeing right now. It seems like it's having a hard time getting above or staying up in the $7 handle, like the 730s.
Sure.
So that's just what it looks like. It's like it's having a hard time with that. We could see some selling out of the open, but I'm not sure.
Okay. And then real quickly here, reaching financial freedom with a comment here. I think Lion asked about this late last week. I didn't get to it. NEP. So this is one that we got from Tim Melvin here. This was a high dividend payer, and this thing has really been terrible. Just full disclosure here, my NEP position, I took the loss on this. It's not as bad as it appears on the P&L statement because I had actually collected 4 dividend payments from this, and it was as high as 14% on one of those dividend payments. So that kind of offset this, but here's the reality. They recently reported earnings. They're kind of going over a change. They suspended the distribution. That was the whole theme for me. So we talk a lot here about, well, you want to stay in stuff that you want to turn around here. My trade thesis with this was for the dividend. They suspended that. I cut my losses. I'll deploy that capital elsewhere. This is the only stock, by the way, that I've personally traded from Tim that I reported a loss on. Every other one was positive. If you folks want to ask him about that on Wednesday, we're going to have him back, and we're open.
Yeah, I'd like to know what he's doing with that as well, or what he thinks, because I'm curious about it.
BCTX right out of the open, right to that 771 high right here.
Oh yeah, just a little bit higher, but yeah, right to that. Nice
to
call. SOPA pushing up as well. GHRS trying to move over the VWAP, having a little bit of a hard time though. Remember, $20 is going to be a bit of a support area for GHRS, as you can see from the pre-market price action. Reborn Coffee, Rebin.
Yeah, that's REBN.
That pulled out of the open here, but it looks like it's getting a little bit of support. Nasty wall of sellers at 510. It'll be the next target to take out there.
Real quick here, Aaron says my portfolio just dropped 10% at the open. One of the things that I was mentioning earlier, this is what you don't want to do, knee-jerk reaction. Sometimes seeing that right at the open causes you to be like, oh, I don't want this to get any worse, and cut it. Remember, this is exactly what we saw last week. That actually ended up coming back. In fact, the P&L when last week when it opened was ugly, and at the end of the day, I was like, this was almost like a nothing burger. So we'll see if we have the same type of thing here today. BCTX looks like that's there we go. Looks like that's making a run towards 8. BCTX.
SOPA popped and dropped. Same with HCWB and GHRS. And REBN is trying to recover. Doesn't want to lose that consolidation area. It needs to recapture 5 is what it needs to do. Or it's going lower. All right, so not seeing anything I'm going to jump into quite yet.
And what did we say, that 450 to 5 area here on REBN?
Bitcoin coming back up over 95,000 now with authority. Looking for 96,000.
Bitcoin higher here. It looks like we're getting a very short bounce here in a lot of the tech names as well. I'll start cycling through them. You folks can call out anything that you have. No new trades for me yet. Apple here up off the lows. Amazon, Izzy, looking at you. Amazon up off the lows here. Since we're talking about Izzy, might as well take a look at Uber here. Oh, look at Uber. Almost all the way back here so far. How's NVIDIA doing? We took a look at that one earlier as well. NVIDIA, interesting. First move here was lower, back down the pre-market lows. NVIDIA, this seems to be the weakest of all of the names that we just took a look at. NVIDIA seems to be leading the way to the downside.
I'm just waiting for some setups here.
Tyson also reported earnings. That's ticker TSN. They reported earnings here today. I know we talked a little bit about the bird flu angle last week. Tyson actually reported earnings trading higher here, although we've come pretty much back down to balance. Looks like a lot of that was priced in here.
So SOPA coming down to support around $2. We could get a bounce there. Looks like BCTX kind of hanging in there, looking like it's trying to push back up again.
Yeah, BCTX. This actually looks like this is trying to go higher here. I've got 787 as your intraday high print. Yep. This going for it right now. 779 was as high as it got on that last push. And actually, looking here real quick, my Thinkorswim, my time and sales look a little bit lagged. Someone was asking earlier if you were having trouble with Thinkorswim. I haven't executed any orders yet today, but it does look a little lagged. Let me try collecting garbage and see if that helps at all. Actually, that might have helped.
Yeah, BCTX just all over the place right now, all within the 7 handle. Actually, it dipped out of the 7 handle briefly.
Carm, you were mentioning Calm here, right? With the whole bird flu thing. This is Cal Maine. This is going to be your egg guy. Actually, a pretty decent sell-off there on Friday. This is still holding higher. Nice job on that. Sorry, which one? Rebin?
Yeah, Reborn. I keep saying Rebin, but it's Reborn.
It's okay. It's okay. REBN, Rebin.
It's trying to push up. Here we go. It's starting to get moving again. Let's see how much we get out of this. It's got a little bit of a wall at of 560, a little bit of wall of sellers there. So, and we're starting to spread around here.
Jamie Diamond saying toss is okay for me. Jamie, honestly, it actually seems a little bit better. Maybe it was just kind of an opening print shenanigan there. I did use the collect garbage. For anyone that's not familiar, by the way, if you go to the help tab in Thinkorswim and then the system sub tab, you have a button there that's collect garbage. This, I've had mixed results with this. This can really kind of help the performance of the platform. Maybe it was just placebo because this happened right around the open. Does seem like it's performing a little bit better. Toss chart overloads due to volatility. The charts seem to be okay. It was the time and sales that I noticed the lag. Bill is saying Thinkorswim is slow for me. Maybe that'll pick back up here.
RABN looking pretty good here.
Sure is.
Might push up into the 6 handle, and if it does, I think 620 could be the resistance area.
BCTX, by the way, one we were just talking about, that in a massive pull. We actually gave up the VWAP with no support there too.
Yeah, it looks like support doesn't really show up until about somewhere in the 630s.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on that. So maybe 640.
This will halt down.
This will halt right here, 658, if it holds. Robert, with really good advice, don't panic. The halt. That's what I'm in right now. There you are. You are halted. Good call there. BCTX halted to the downside here.
All right, HCWB losing VWAP as well. If this gets support, it might find it around 65 cents or 62 cents.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was looking around. Which ticker?
That was the penny stock I covered, the HCWB.
HCWB?
Yeah.
So Robert here, so here's that penny stock. Robert here mentioning ENPH. That's a solar name that we talked about recently. Solar here getting hit on that gap down this strong. Robert also mentioning EA, which I was trading last week. I actually sold and rolled into EA last week. So I've actually rolled into the February 130 calls here. We'll see if this turns around here. EA looking pretty weak, although it did kind of come back off some of its overnight lows. Just kind of looking around here, market seems to try to be resilient still. Amazon, by the way, continuing higher here. Shout out to you, Izzy. I guess I should have tried trading it again here, huh? This trading higher. Apple coming back. Costco higher. Netflix trading higher. So really a lot of those, other than NVIDIA, seem to be participating in a bounce back move here. NVIDIA continuing to move to the lows. Tesla here also moving to the lows. This doesn't seem to be participating.
It looks like we have a bit of a inverse head and shoulders on the 5-minute SPY.
REBN halted to the upside on REBN on huge volume.
Fantastic. Right to that 620, almost to that 620 area too.
Yep.
So, if we unhalt, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I would not be surprised if we just kind of gapped over that consolidation and went higher.
SOPA
820 is the intraday high. Sorry.
All good. SOPA just reclaimed the VWAP here. We'll see if that can continue to build. Ed mentioning ONDS on a pull. I would not expect anything less. Given some of the news that we had here today, this pulled out of the open. Actually encouraging to see this bounce back. I would have expected this on bigger stocks, maybe not some of these smaller names, but this is encouraging. We'll see if that continues here or if that gets worse. Again, that's a longer term hold for me, so I'm not necessarily worried about that.
I said REBN 820 was the intraday high. It's the pre-market high, but also if you look at a smaller time frame of REBN, you can point out where there's a trend, and we might actually come right back up to that trend line out of the halt here. Oh, you don't have that wick, so I have a wick at 8:05 that goes.
Which time frame are you on?
5 minute.
Yeah, so am I.
It's weird. It's in my broker, so it's probably
okay. Gotcha. Got it. Okay.
But it goes all the way up to 786, and so I just drew a trend line there, and that looks like we could come right up to that trend line. But you don't have that price, so if you drew a trend line, you'd be breaking that trend line right, or that trend right now.
Hustle and bustle, giving it to you right here. Picked up a few SPY calls for tomorrow, and that reminds me here. Don't we have results from our poll? I think we do. Here you go. So we had asked the group earlier here, is today's market dip a buyable dip? You folks did not disappoint here. Really good turnout for this poll. 49% of you saying no, it could go lower. 13, be proud, pat yourself on the back. 33% of you said yes, buy the dip. And 16% of you said not sure. So again, really good performance out of that poll. Really good response, I should say, out of that poll. Good stuff there. Looks like, nope, this is not a buyable dip. Took the lead on that.
Looks like GHRS is trying to turn around, but it's got to recapture and hold above 1950. Looks like I don't know if it's about to unhalt or not, but BCTX should be finished with its halt soon.
Yeah, I had that halted at 9:36. Yep, you're absolutely right. This should be pretty soon. We'll see. I'm going to leave this on screen unless you shout out another setup here. Hustle and bustle by the... Oh, I already mentioned that. Sorry. Mixed mastered Mike here saying if Trudeau folds like a Walmart camping chair, the news can create a good or false idol.
It's got her.
Yeah, got her. Okay, so basically what you're saying here, first of all, I will say, just going to throw this out there, Canada is no Colombia. So I don't think what we saw with Colombia, we should just necessarily apply to Canada and Mexico. I don't think that's going to be the case. But to your point here, maybe we do get an opportunity. BCTX is open, 13. Lower we go.
All right, let's see if we get a rebound here or not. And if we don't, then we could lose the 6 handle. MACD is not looking great either. Buy the dip out for now. Well done, Hans.
I was trying to get a price in some of those calls, 600 calls. So the 600 calls that expire this Friday are 3 ask. Oh, nope, excuse me, 265 ask. That's actually not a terrible price. Kind of interested in that myself. Now that you mention it, hustle and bustle. By the way, market continuing to bounce here. Some of my smaller cap stocks that really kind of got pulled on this are actually starting to outperform to the upside. So that is encouraging. We'll see if that continues. Might be too early. I don't want to get head faked here. You know what I mean? I don't want to get head faked early on. And actually, TSM, thank you. You were asking about that. What about TSM? We took a look at that and kind of set that up earlier here. Look at this. TSM, actually, this volume. Okay, so we did pull down to 198 and bounce, but it looks like we might go back and retest that area. 198, definitely a key level here. Ticker TSM.
Looks like HCWB is trying to turn around. It did get it back above VWAP, but it still needs to recapture some of these other BMAs.
Yep, good call there.
SOPA still trying to recapture VWAP as well. And if it can't, then I still think we may see that test of $2 again as support.
Where's Diamond Hotline? Meta red green move. We talked about Meta being down almost 2% here in the pre-market. This is now up almost 1%. Just an absolute power candle here so far on META Meta.
So look at the price action on Tesla. We are trying to hold that 385 level. This is the level I was talking about, where we need to watch for buyers to step in, because that's what has been happening over the past week down there. So currently at 385.50, putting in some neutral candles. So could reverse, could go lower. Not sure yet.
David here saying a surprise big bounce in BABA, ticker BABA here. Here you go. BABA also red green, and actually BABA green by almost 1.5% here. David, this is a really good call.
SOPA.
Say again.
SOPA.
Mm-hmm. Looks like that recaptured and is pushing away from that VWAP. Oh, no wonder you called this. Really good call there.
Mm-hmm. Kevin Robinson mentioning VUZI, that's interesting, because one of the things I noticed on the Meta headlines, the news headlines, was how they invested or are going to invest. Let me make sure. Total investment in smart glasses to reach $100 billion, Financial Times says, for Meta platforms. So VUZI is a AR smart glasses company, and they do have some revenue, but they've been kind of hammered in recent years. Especially following the divestment from Intel. But I think you're going to see, companies like this, and maybe some other ones that are in smart glasses. I don't know about other ones, but maybe Microvision could be going. I don't know. I haven't looked at that yet. But those smart glasses and AR headset devices, those could be getting a lift on that headline.
Hey, Carmen, long-term VUZI holder here. By the way, shout out to you, Kevin. I don't normally do this here for the group, but folks, if you like to follow some of the other traders here and news flow and stuff, Kevin would actually be a pretty good follow here. Kevin, I really appreciate that you tweet out news to me, especially over the weekend. Sometimes when I'm distracted by my own life and sports, it's actually your tag that gets me to read one of those. So shout out to you, Kevin. Keep up the good work and good stuff there, VUZI.
Yeah, Carmen, you're absolutely right about that. They're it seems like they're more on the industrial and commercial side of the smart glasses tech. And is that what your read is too? Because I've been trying to follow them for a little while, and they do have some really interesting stuff. I thought this was a company that maybe even Apple would have picked up, since they are so far behind in the smart glasses and AI and pretty much everything these days. So I thought this was something that may have. Ray-Ban is basically what is being used a lot with Meta right now. But yeah, so VUZI I thought was really interesting on that commercial and industrial side. Yeah.
Walmart here, also red green. So remember, some of the tariff news here really sinking Walmart. This now going red green here. Walmart closing in on 100 prints pretty soon. Absolutely wild. I think I saw a couple of you folks talking about trading Walmart here today. excuse me, especially on some of the headlines here and how those change around. Lion also mentioning PDD short here. So PDD traded up out of the gate, but has since rolled over. Is Baba doing the same thing? Let's see. Is Baba a little bit stronger? Baba pulling back too, but definitely a little bit stronger so far here. SPY, by the way, 13. SPY was just pushing up. We were just talking about that. Has pulled off of that level. To me, it sure looks like 594 going to be one of those intraday levels we need to take out on ticker SPY if we want to go higher.
REBN might be unhalting pretty soon here. This is Reborn Coffee. They halted to the upside, and we are coming up to a consolidation area in the pre-market. So just kind of waiting to see what happens here with REBN. This is going to unhalt, and there we go. We have an unhalted now, and we are going through this consolidated area, or trying to right now.
C Spot saying Costco don't care about tariffs. No, it doesn't. At least not so far. And I'll be honest with you, just straight up. Maybe I'll end up eating my words here, but one of the reasons I don't care much about tariffs in my own personal life is also because of Costco. They're going to help out. At least that's kind of what I've seen and the way that I feel here. But as far as the actual headline here, which is what you were talking about, Costco, again, red-green move here, up almost 1% here today. REBN pulled back to VWAP. Sorry for cutting you off there.
No, this is just kind of what I was waiting to see happen here. Just what the price action was going to do with that consolidation. Seller stepped in, pushing it back down. Now we're back down to VWAP. We could halt here as well.
SSYS. This on, man, you want to talk about a bad trade on this? I actually took the loss on this last year at about $9. Here we are. Sucks to see it almost $2 higher. If I had just been a little bit more patient, I used that capital to deploy it elsewhere, though. That was a bummer trade that didn't work last week. So sorry, which one?
REBN halted.
REBN halted. That was a really good call. 13. Rustam with a sticker there wants to take a look at SABS. Rustam, I don't see anything really going on with this here today. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, it is a pretty nasty wick on Revin. It was trying to get to that consolidation area from the pre-market. Sellers really stepped in there, smacked it down. That's what we had that consolidation out right there outlined for us, that possibility.
Real quick here, SABS, Rustam, I don't see this doing anything here today. I don't think this is really a mover here today. I don't think this is important here today. I don't think there's a trade here today. But one thing to keep in mind here, we have a fireside chat on February 6th, and then we also have Oppenheimer's Healthcare Life Sciences Conference on February 12th, and the company will be presenting at both of those.
Yeah, and keep in mind that's 2 to 2:25 Eastern. That's that's before the last hour of the regular session,
right before power hour, baby.
Yeah, it's good to keep that on your radar. Those future headlines or those future
absolutely meetings. Because that might be one of the catalysts that makes that stock volatile on that day. Real quickly here, Jay Rice saying SSYS has an activist and also guided higher. You're right, Jay. And honestly, what this comes down to, I just didn't do a good job with this. Straight up, some stocks I trade pretty well. Some stocks I don't. This one I did not. So I'm out of this. I know they got an activist shortly after. Now you have a higher guide here. This thing rode me down, man. It rode me down 14 to like 6 or whatever. Ended up getting out of this thing at 9. I think I lowered my cost basis to 11, so I took about a 2-point hit
GHRS.
on that. Man, oh man, Jay, I didn't trade this one at all. Sorry, 13. Which
GHRS trying to push through VWAP right now. I just saw that it got a little bit of just a small spike in volume. Wasn't sure if there was going to get follow through, but it pushed up to the consolidation and tried to get over VWAP. So I'm just waiting to see what happens here. Very spready, by the way, too. This thing has at least a 15-cent spread.
Yeah, that's the one we wanted to talk about the spread on. I'm actually seeing right now, I had about a 10. You're right. Oh, man. So this will sometimes tighten up to a 5 to 7 cent spread, and then it will just spread out to 20 plus like it is right now. I've got VWAP here at 20.01. Let's call it 20. We were rejected at that VWAP.
SOPA pushing up too. That made a high of 275. If this continues, it's going through some consolidation from previous price action right now. But if it manages to get through 3, I think 350 could be the next big area of resistance. Let's see. So Reborn still needs some more time before that unhalts. Bitcoin, this looks like it's putting in a bull flag. So we could see this go higher. This may even, I mean, you guys might be right. This could go right back to 100,000 today, just based on the price action I'm seeing right now.
What happened to 13's camera?
Can you not hear me?
No, I can hear you perfectly. I just can't see you. Yeah, it's almost like you're like looking in above from us. Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of disappeared there.
I saw some. Here, let me see if I can fix it real quick.
Yeah, all good. Tesla here continuing to move to the low. Apple, we talked about that push earlier. That's come back in a little bit. Amazon, that came off the high. Bitcoin here looks like we traded above 97K on the futures chart. We just gave up 97K. Looks like we're coming back in. SPY also looks like it might be rolling a little bit here. Be interesting to see if this holds at all or if we end up breaking and moving lower here. SPY coming down to this 591 area. Uber getting mentioned here by Izzy. Let's take a look here on Uber. That's continuing its red-green move on Uber. SPY, this pullback here, the thing for me is, do we hold 591 on this pullback? If so, we should be in good shape. SOPA, that popped higher here on volume. Grats to anyone that hit that one. IVVD, are any of you folks trading that? Penny stock, new highs for you penny players. Crow, looks like you are on that. Okay. GDS. Okay, sorry, I'm just going through a couple of things here. Tyson, so this gave up its earnings move to the upside. SPY still holding 591. Danielle mentioning TEM. That was a great trade from last week. TEM, wow, this also going red green. Actually, this was a really good trade here today. TEM. Chris saying, I still don't see how Trump tariffs affect Bitcoin, but whatever. Bitcoin, clearly, we talked about this too. Bitcoin, one of those speculative assets, really kind of the marker of risk on, risk off. And so it's just kind of trading around with that. Gold is flagging. Let's see what else you guys got. Actually seeing Nugget on the relative volume scanner here. Gold miners, that's green by 4%. Those might be decent trades if the market, especially if the market continues to show weakness here. BCTX, this came pretty much all the way to the launch pad spot from the pre-market here. So it looks like we put in a nice double top there. 775 going to be that area we really need to take out. Yeah, that TEM, the Pelosi push, right? Nancy Pelosi, as our producer aptly nicknamed her, but the Pelosi push on some of these has been pretty good. We started trading that, what was it, around $40 when that started? Here we are in a 57 handle. This is actually a nice intraday move here today. SPY still trying there, actually trying to recapture 592. Let's take a look here at BCTX and REBN, or two of our other names here. So REBN, this is still halted. Let's take a look at BCTX and see where we're at. BCTX still at the 616. This is also, no, this is resumed. This is not halted at the moment. VIX conditionally accepted. Good call. VIX. So again, it sank out of the open to a level of about, what do we got there? Into an 18 handle. Looks like it got to 1874. Bounced a little bit here, but couldn't go higher. Couldn't set a new high on that bounce. 1915, the current price here on the VIX. So far, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but so far, the VIX high print, again, made in the pre-market. We'll see if that holds here for the day. The VIX does seem erratic. And Izzy, you're mentioning here Uber. You're saying if the market turns here, Uber could really rip. Uber is actually one of the better performers here today. Nice little, and you know what? I got to start adding this one to my list to check every morning here too. Amazon again got the nice little movement that we were looking for, right? Nice little kind of traded up here, little dip right in the pre-market, and then a rip right out of the open. Wouldn't have traded that one. I would have waited for the regular session anyway. Carm, yeah, you joined us late here. So we did talk about Palantir at the open here. So let's go back and take a look at that real fast and see how Palantir is also doing here today. I have no open trades at the moment, so I'm happy to do this. Just kind of waiting for things to shake out, honestly. I'd really like SPY to really kind of firm up and show a direction. ONDS really coming back off that pull too. Anyway, Palantir, let's talk about this. So we have recently rejected from a really clean double top here at about 85 and change. Palantir obviously reporting earnings here today. Key levels here, obviously going to be that double top. Think it's going to need a really good print and also some buying volume to really kind of take it higher. And I'm not sure even on a good number if we get that here on Palantir, just because it's been so extended. Downside, other levels that I want to pay attention to, 74.5. I think we probably blow right through that. I think this thing probably tests 73, which we have the 50-day moving average at. Also worth noting here, we're going to have this downtrend, and this is putting us at about 68 and change here today. So this would be another downside area if we're able to kind of take that, if the print isn't good, if the stock sells off at all. I think that could be another downside angle here. I don't have a trade on this, so can't tell you one way or another which way this is going to go here. I personally want this lower. So if I'm cheerleading from the sideline, I'm saying come on into that 60 handle Palantir and we'll be able to trade this again. But this stock reporting earnings here. Also NXPI, I believe, also reporting earnings here tonight. Yes. Conference call. Yes. The earnings are tonight. The conference call is tomorrow. There we go. And here's where you're at on NXPI. Again, kind of another support area right here at about $200. Okay. Let's go back to the main workspace here and see where we're at. 13, I think, is he. Let's see. Yes. 13. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect. So it looks like we're having camera trouble here, but I hear you loud and clear, my man.
All right, well, we're just going to go forward without the camera.
Roll with it. Roll with it.
All right, so let's see. Where were you at?
I was just kind of making a look around the horn here, but it is 10 o'clock. So while you kind of firm up with things, we're going to talk to our special guest, as we always do on a Monday here. It is time for Matt Maley. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Warm welcome for Matt this morning. Matt, good morning. Happy Monday. I'll tell you what, this now marks 2 Mondays in a row where we show up and it looks like the market is falling apart on a news headline. Last week, it was DeepSeek and AI going to turn the tables on everything. This time, it's a trade war temper tantrum. How are you doing? How was your weekend?
Good weekend. Thanks very much. Looking forward to the Super Bowl this coming weekend. Should be a lot of fun. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting because last week, we saw that initial sell-off. The bottom came right at the opening. Now it did retest that bottom later that day, later in the afternoon, but then it bounced back and went straight up. Right now, we're already retesting that opening move. And my concern is it could get worse as the week goes on. I mean, let's face it, the stock market is, start of the day, not even 2% below its all-time highs. Mm-hmm. So to think that with what's going on with DeepSeek, what's going on with the Fed. Remember, the Fed last week confirmed that they're going to keep interest rates high. They're not in any rush to lower interest rates. And now we have this trade issue. I just got to think that we're going to see some more weakness as we move through the week. In other words, I don't think we'll see the low for the week will be at the very, literally in the first 15 minutes like it was last week.
Okay, that's actually perfect because this is exactly how we started last week. When we came in, one of the things I said is, hey, is the low kind of in for today, right? We had a second poll where they asked if the SPY was going to go green. It did not. Our group correctly predicted it last week. I asked the same thing this week. Is this a dip buying opportunity or not? The data here, the group said that no, this is not a dip buying opportunity. They kind of expect the same thing that you do. And to your point here, does look like we tried to trade up off those lows, but now we're going to roll over. We'll see if we retest them. Do you make anything of how resilient this market has really kind of shown itself to be in the face of all of these headlines? To your point, we're right near all-time highs. And I'll be honest, Matt, when I sat down this morning, I was like, this isn't as bad as I would have thought.
Well, I mean, we have to give it a little time too. I mean, I hear what you're saying though. I was thinking, geez, man, when I saw the futures last night, the S&Ps were down about 100. I thought, geez, they could be down 200 when I wake up in the morning. Well, they weren't. They're actually slightly better than that. But it's the resiliency is one thing. Is it too much complacency? I worry that it might be the latter. I mean, last week that whole thing out of DeepSeek was out of left field. Money was still flowing into the market. Nobody, individual investors, 99% of them didn't even know what it was. And so we didn't get any kind of people saying, "Oh, geez, we got to take some money off the table." And then of course the market bounced back, so it gave them some confidence. Now they're seeing another shoe dropping. It's like, wait a minute here, should I at least pull a few chips off the table? And so I worry that the money flows are going to reverse a little bit, and that could cause the market to go down. Again, we've talked about this a million times in the past. Corrections are normal, they're healthy, and I think that we're headed for one right now. The only other thing too I'd also mention is that you hear a lot of people say, hey, these are just bargaining tools, and maybe he's going to speak to Trump's going to speak to both Canada and Mexico today. The president's there. Maybe he'll come back and say, oh, they came back and said real good things, and therefore I'm going to pull back. That may indeed happen, but we have to remember that these bargaining tools aren't very useful if you don't use them every once in a while, and that's number one. Number two is that I do not agree with those who say Trump is scared to death about the stock market going down. That's the most important measure for him, and yes, he has said that in the past. But Bessent, who's his Treasury Secretary, he's a smart guy. He knows that they started at a very expensive. The starting point for their administration is very expensive. If they have some room to let this market go. I mean, you think about which party it was. The second term for Barack Obama saw a 14% correction in the first year of his second term, and yet the market came back. And certainly when he left office, it was seen as a very successful term. Ronald Reagan had a 20% correction in the first year of it was his first term. But I mean, again, the market bounced back in a big way. So I think he's being advised by Bessent and others is that don't worry if the market goes down a little bit here. And even as Trump has said, we can take some pain. And to get some gain later on. So this thought that Trump's going to get scared because the market goes down 6 or 7% from the all-time highs, or even 10%, I think he would be crazy if he did, to be honest with you. So be a little careful about these, Fed put coming into play or Trump put coming into play. I see that they won't have any problem with that market going down. I mean, the stock market went down 50% in 2000 and only resulted in a mild correction. I'm sorry, in a mild recession. All right. So if the market goes down 10 or 15% or even close to 20% this time around, there's no guarantee that it's going to be a big problem for Trump in the longer term. So
absolutely, Matt. In fact, they asked him that last night, and he said, look, there might be some short-term pain, and we're going to be okay with that. Real spot on here. Also, just some more stats to kind of steel man what you were just saying there. Ryan Dietrich actually had a really good series of tweets here regarding the seasonality. And February isn't really great for post-election years. You just did a great job with Obama and Reagan there and some stats there, but the seasonality says the same thing here. And part of this might be saying, well, hey, might we want to get some of the bad news out of the way early here, to your point about being near all-time highs? All of that stuff kind of makes sense. And as you mentioned, There are talks scheduled with both Canada and Mexico today. I think we actually just got a piece of news that the Canadian one is going to be at about 3 Eastern, so near the close. So we could expect some more headlines out of that. Maybe it'll be after the market is closed. Wouldn't that be wild here? And then a really good follow-up there with the Fed from last week. Let me ask you, is there anything that you're kind of looking at, given where we're at with the market right now and some of the different headlines that are coming out? Where are you looking to maybe deploy capital to the long or short side?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, what you mentioned about the seasonality is very interesting too, because we always think about that big bottoms are made in October, which was certainly the case in 2022, and that was the bear market low, and then again in 2023 after a bit of a correction. But we also get lows in March. It's funny. I mean, major lows took place at the end of the dot-com bubble. That ended in March of 2003. The great financial crisis, the low came in March of 2009. Now, I'm not saying it'll be a major low. I don't know, but the point is, that seasonality thing could see a decent sell-off during February, and at some point in March, whether it be early, mid, or late, I don't know. We'll have to see when it gets there. That wouldn't be a bad time to see at least some sort of a low in the marketplace. So keep an eye on that. But as for things that I'm looking at here, well, a couple things. Number one, on the S&P 500, we dropped below the 50-day moving average. That's not the biggest deal in the world. People are pointing to that, but that's only very short term. Look at the 100-day moving average. That's been in the last 12 months. That's really been the more important support level, and that comes in at about a 50% retracement of the rally since August as well. So you get down towards that 100-day moving average. That's, I think, where the real test is going to come. Because if we break that, I think it's going to be a quick drop to the 200-day. But anyway, so that's something I'll be watching. Also watching the SMH, which has dropped below its 200-day moving average. That's been key support. It did it last Monday and bounced right back. If it doesn't bounce right back this time, we got some problems.
Okay, really great stuff there with the charts. To your point about the 200-day moving average, on the SMH, we dropped right beneath it, came all the way back to it. That actually was a pretty decent buy the dip trade last week. Is that going to happen again? I'm not too sure. And then furthermore, on the SPY here, that 100-day moving average, we talked about that this morning, that at 586.90. And in just a quick look at this chart, Matt, you are exactly right. This really has been the key moving average for the S&P 500 over the past 12 months. The other thing of note, we have a recent downtrend that I just kind of extended the line that actually lines up with that 100-day as well. So we'll see if we come back in there. And Matt, I was asking you, what you're looking at here, just as a reminder, folks, if you want to trade along with Matt, he's got a great service here on our research site. You've been making an absolute killing over there. I went ahead and threw a link here. Reach out to our team. We'd be happy to set you up with that here. So, okay, are you interested in any earnings here this week? Is it pretty much all about this tariff news? What do you think about some of the earnings reports that we're supposed to see this week in names like PayPal, Spotify, Pepsi, Uber, Disney, etc.?
No, they will be important because the one of the things everybody's looking for is that these earnings are going to be great. Well, of course, 80% of the companies are beating, but they always beat. The problem is, as we go through this earnings season so far, earnings estimates for the full year and for next year have actually gone down. Now, they've only gone down very slightly. So in other words, it's just, we have to keep an eye on that because we're going to need a much bigger increase in earnings than the consensus is already looking for. They're looking for 15% earnings increase this year. That sounds really good, but with the market trading at 22 times earnings, we need something better than that. And the other thing, of course, we have Palantir tonight as well.
Yep.
That's a company I love on a longer term basis. It's getting extended, so we need to be careful. But if it does, I guess my point is, if it does see any kind of a sizable dip, that's to one to look at to pick up on any weakness. So, but earnings are going to be very, very important because as much as people are saying that earnings are going to be great this year, much of that is already priced in. We need something better than just what the consensus has been looking for.
Yeah, really good stuff there. And I was kind of talking about that on Palantir earlier as well. I also love this for the long term, but Matt, we're coming off of a pretty clean double top here. Frankly, I'd love to see this come into 60, and I'd start looking to maybe re-add there. Okay, real good stuff here. We have another crazy week, another big news drop over the weekend that is setting the stage for this week. So we'll see how this goes.
Hey,
Matt, go ahead, get in there, 13.
Could I, Matt, if I could real quick, one of the things that I've been kind of wanted to keep an eye on, obviously we have the potential for these tariffs to maybe have some concessions or get reversed by tomorrow before they take effect. It depends on how these meetings go. But I'm looking a little bit more forward to the end of the week when we report the BLS jobs report. The Fed has kind of directed some eyes to that. And my concern with that is that we may see some of the effects of this new administration's unwinding of government jobs having an effect on the unemployment rate. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Do you think we're going to see an impact on the BLS jobs report, or is this going to be just another nothing burger like PCE was?
Well, I'm kind of thinking it'll be nothing. I say nothing burger now because a lot of these things haven't really kicked in, so they won't be part of the January report. But that doesn't mean that it won't be in the future. So it is something to watch for. But another thing to think about with the bond market is Wednesday. Treasury Secretary Bessent comes out with how how they're going to do their Treasury auctions to pay for our deficit. Remember how Janet Yellen, Secretary Yellen, went to more shorter-term securities. That gave us a lot of relief in 2023, and because it really helped the bond yields come down a bit. It's a lot of talk now that he's going to go back to more longer-term securities. If that has a negative impact on the bond market, again, that's going to be another issue. So no matter what happens on Friday, we could have something just as important, or at least somewhat important, before that day. So so keep your eyes and ears peeled on Wednesday. I'm not sure when that announcement is coming, but I know it is scheduled for Wednesday. So I'll be looking at that real closely.
Thank you very much for that.
Sure. Okay, real good stuff there. Again, folks, if you want to trade along with Matt, I went ahead and threw a link in the chat here. Be sure to join the webinar. I'm looking over here and I'm seeing Matt close trades at 100+% here this morning.
Yeah, we had a 300% one as well this morning, so that worked out really well. And don't forget, gold looking good, but the last several times gold has broken out, silver has played catch up in a big way. So as much as I love gold, and we'll see what happens with the breakout here. If gold breaks out even more from here, you want to play, don't be afraid to play gold, but don't be afraid to play silver either. That should actually do more catching up. And especially with the Bitcoin having some problems right now. It's just don't forget about gold and silver as you play in some of these other areas. I mean, some people have focused so much on Bitcoin and the cryptos, they've kind of forgotten about gold and silver. Gold's breaking out, and silver, I think, will play catch up soon.
Guilty, Matt. That would be me. Focusing too much on Bitcoin, not paying enough to gold and silver.
Nothing wrong with that.
You just described me, Matt. Matt, I'm going to get you out of here on perhaps the most important call of the week. Who you got this weekend, Chiefs or Eagles?
Well, I'm going with the Eagles, but that's more because that's who I want to win. And it's really bad on my part because I love the Patriots, and I don't want Mahomes to catch up to Brady. But so I'm guilty as charged. But he's just an unbelievable player. It's going to be an unbelievable game. But Barkley, he could be the difference maker. He's just amazing. The Giants, I don't know what they were thinking when they let him go.
Yeah, I'm with you on all of that. And just a little tip for any of you potential bettors this weekend. The Super Bowl is on Saquon Barkley's birthday. Ooh. He is the big key there. We'll see. Matt, thanks so much for everything here. Another wild week. We really appreciate your time and breaking it down. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll check in with you next week, okay?
Sounds good, guys. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Will do. That is Matt Maley, folks. He is lights out every time he comes on. It's literally like I wake up in the morning. I got his chat room on notifications, and it's just like booking 100% gain, booking 100% gain, booking. It's just like, all right, that's it. Matt is the money printer in there. So really, really good stuff there, and some really good insight into some of the things that we should be expecting here this week. So we are grateful for that. Okay. 13, we have mixed Mastered Mike saying he misses your face. How do you feel about that?
Loved. Now, okay. I wanted to also get to another question that I saw fielded to me by Diamond Hotline. It was asking, how could I explain this move on BCTX? And I believe it's the down move. And earlier, before we opened, I was talking about how that that high that we made in the extended hours could, be a level worth watching. We got up to there. We started turning around. That was clear resistance. All those wicks that we were getting from all the price action up there was kind of telling us that's where the sellers were stepping in and pushing this back down. So here we are back down to that pre-market consolidation, and it looks like we could even still lose 550. But that's just the name of this game here. The sellers were telling you this is where they're going to really step in, and that's why it's been slapped down so hard. And I think we even halted to the downside as well.
But yeah, we did. It's open at the moment, but we did earlier here today. BCTX, we'll see if it holds there. We do have one that's rolling here. Ticker USEG. Looks like Izzy, you are all over this one. Multiple. Oops, there we go. Come on, chart. Multiple moves higher there. We've actually pulled back towards the VWAP several times only to resolve this higher. This thing pumping, volume looking pretty good here as well. Plus 42.5% here on ticker USEG. No fresh news there. Just moving here today. Really good stuff there on USEG. Izzy. And actually, let's take a look here. 15-minute. Okay, so we just took out one of the areas. Next area in here, I got to say 4 is likely to be one of those levels there, and then maybe even 450, which looks like a level that we broke through and back tested. So 4 and 450 going to be some of your next spots here, ticker USEG, if that can continue.
Yeah, Line Atlas, I went back in time to make sure that every question that was fielded to me gets answered. That's just where I'm coming from, man.
That's what he does. He's judicious with those notes, by the way, folks. REBN does look like it held this area in here, 482. 13, when we were first talking about this earlier, we kind of mentioned that this 450 to 5 area looks to be a pretty decent support for REBN. So far, so good. That's held. The one thing that I will say here, volume not what we wanted to see, not really cooperating here. This really kind of shrinking here. Maybe some of this action is over.
Yeah, this last candle here that we're currently in, this 5-minute candle, may tell us whether or not this is going higher. The way it looks right now, I'm not sure that it will. It's not looking great. The volume, as you pointed out, not the best. We're also beneath VWAP. That's currently, I have it at 559. But this candle here, once this closes, I think the very next 5-minute candle could be red and may end up taking us lower. So that's what I'm looking for, and that's what I'm going to be waiting on. I think when it comes to support, we might get better support down at 450 or somewhere between 440 and 450 would be my guess.
Good stuff there. Here's SOPA. This did pull back to the VWAP. So far, it has held that 232 area here. Now, this candle, we've bounced once here off this recent pull, but we haven't taken out 260. So this current 5-minute candle is an inside candle to the previous one. We want to see that resolve. It's going to be one of those directions. Hopefully, it's higher here. USEG, by the way, continuing here, 340 your intraday high. We are right back up there, USEG. Man, what a rip on this thing.
Let's see here. What's Tesla doing now? Did we lose that level? I think we did.
We did. Tesla here hunting for some new lows. We actually lost 375 on Tesla.
So we lost that 385, and this was that was where I was saying, okay, if we don't hold this, we could see a lot more downside. That looks like a lot more downside. And we were talking about focusing on those handles, those psychological levels, every $5 down. So after 585, you had 380. Got a little bit of bounce there, consolidated, went lower. So now we're looking at 375. I don't know if I would call this trying to bounce, but here's the thing: the RSI on this 5-minute chart is quite low, and I'd expect there to be at least some kind of sideways action or a little bit of recovery off this very low RSI before it could potentially even go lower.
Real quick here, by the way, 365 looks to be the impulse pull from Wednesday, January 29th. That level would be one to watch here if Tesla can continue to hold. By the way, USEG 355 on another high of day break. Izzy, you're going to get another register ring for putting that one on the radar here. USEG. This is the performer of the day. And here's one thing, folks, just kind of keep this in. You want to keep everyone, level-headed here. If you're not having a good day here today, don't compound it. Try to understand what's going on. Are you just kind of pulling back here with everything? By the way, new tick high right there on the tick chart, as maybe this bottom is getting bought here.
Take a look at Rigetti. This thing kind of I think it may have found a bottom around 1185. It's trying to push back up. MACD is starting to curl, and we're making our way up to VWAP. Keep an eye on this, just in case it moves back over VWAP and tries to do something wild.
Did we get any news here? Sorry, I don't have the Twitter stream. Yes, we did. Mexican president had a good conversation with Trump. French prime minister. Nope, that has nothing to do with it. Yeah, so I'm just seeing here, crossing the news wire here, that the Mexican president, Scheinbaum, I hope I'm not mispronouncing her name, says, quote, had a good conversation with Trump. So we're already starting. That was that tick 800 plus reading on there. What was that high print? By the way, tick chart basically just showing you where those impulses are. SPY moved up off the bottom here on that headline. Now, nothing concrete out of that, but remember, we tried to set the stage for this ahead of time. And 13, your camera's back. Welcome.
Oh, hi. Okay, well, welcome back. Thanks for restreaming. It's not voice of 13 anymore. It's all me.
I'll tell you what, you know what? Maybe it's frozen there, but at least they have a thumbnail of your face. I'll tell you what, the audio has not wavered even a little bit today. So whatever bug is going on there, you're good, dude. You are totally good. Okay.
Yeah, I look like I'm about to unwind a position. That's what I got frozen on. Like I just saw something I didn't like.
CYCN 3D. Let's go. Way to stick at this one. CYCN. I'm actually disappointed I didn't call this one. Nice little range here in the pre-market. When we came out of the open, we recaptured that. This was probably a head fake in there, so I can see how this kind of got people. But once we've now recaptured this, let me turn the volume back on here. We're starting to get that volume expand. We took out that recent high. You know what? I got to say, CYCN, I think as long as this has any type of buying volume, I wouldn't be shocked if 5 ends up getting tested here today. VWAP here right around 441. That would be your entry here. I would not chase this candle. CYCN pushing up 3D. Great call on this one. Entire market is trying to bounce here. Oh my God. The candle on SPY is insane, folks. I hope that you folks were ready for volatility today. Look at this candle.
We're gap filling.
Ryan Odegaard here is saying, LOL, I've never seen a SPY chart do this. Well, mark it down, baby. You're gonna see more stuff here. Look at this move off the bottom. By the way, Bitcoin at highs, Apple turning around, Amazon turning around. Can't see Tesla there. Tesla. Huge bounce here. So volatility is back, folks. It's back. Izzy, Uber. I guess I should have known to just go there, huh, Izzy?
Yeah, and this is hold on a second.
This is what makes trading fun. Nike bouncing back. How's Baba, by the way? We talked about Baba taking the next leg higher. Remember, this thing went red-green earlier. It's going greener now.
Yeah, this is not even 30 days into the Trump presidency either. And we've already.
I know, and this is
get ready, folks.
For the course. I'm with you. 13. I'm with you on that a lot. Oh,
love them or hate them. This is where we're at with the market right now. So let's try to see if we can make the best of it.
Jeff Bezos saying, make volatility great again. Oh, asking you shall receive, boss. That's what we got here today. I'm actually, now that I'm kind of watching this, I was kind of cycling around there. I'm actually disappointed I did not hit that for a very quick trade there. Kind of been a little bit more risk off today. That has slowed me down. And I'm not going to chase a candle like that. That much I've learned. Especially not on a headline that's that not concrete. Excuse me. I'm seeing another headline here. Mexican President Sheinbaum just said Mexico will deploy 10,000 National Guard immediately to the border to avoid the trafficking of drugs to the United States. Oh man, oh man.
Okay. Let's see how
the headlines are coming out fast and furious now. Mexican Sheinbaum says tariffs delayed for a month. There's your power candle. There's your power candle, folks.
But that's just Mexico?
Yep. So far, that's the only headlines I'm seeing here. I'm not seeing anything out of Trudeau or I can't believe I just did that. I'm sorry, Canada. I have not seen anything out of Canada yet via Trudeau. By the way, USEG, that has pulled off of the highs there.
Looks like we're
getting. I can't help but laugh at this. I can't. Oh, sorry.
All right. Well, I mean, this we said this could happen. You know, this would be a resolving thing. They started this, and they're going to resolve it now. But you know, we also alluded that they may not roll over it. But here we are, pulling a play out of Columbia's book.
Well, I'll say this. You know what? So it's interesting that you bring that up here. I'm going to take a different angle here. I would say that first of all, we haven't heard anything out of Canada. So I don't want to get anyone too excited here. Mexico and Canada were both involved here. I'm only giving you comments that I'm hearing out of the Mexican president. So let's keep that. Let's just stay in the realm of reality here. There's still another nation that we're going to need to hear some things here. But I'll say this: I don't think they rolled over. Colombia folded like a lawn chair. Okay, it wasn't even an hour. But I would go to say that Mexico and Canada, they didn't just completely capitulate over the weekend. They waited. They got meetings scheduled, and now they're kind of working with it. So I would give them the benefit of that them being Mexico and Canada, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt at the moment. I don't want to say they folded. I think that they're playing the game.
Okay.
And I mean, you take that for a grain of salt. That's my own 2 cents there. But looking at how things happened with Colombia versus these two, I don't think these two nations folded. I would use a different word there, but that's just me, just my 2 cents.
And this is just only from the Mexican president, right?
Yep.
We haven't heard from Trump
yet.
Correct.
Absolutely correct.
So what comes out of his mouth could be completely different.
Very well said. Spy, though, it doesn't give a damn right now. Spy is raging.
It might once he starts talking, but we'll see.
Spy is raging. By the way, that tick chart that we mentioned earlier, that tick on the highs as well. Yeah, see, J. Michael here is saying this is negotiating as opposed to folding. J. Michael, that's exactly how I feel about this. That's exactly how I feel about this. Here we go. So BZ Wire, look, I gave you a bunch of those headlines segmented. By the way, the account that I was getting it was an X account that will cycle a lot of those headlines automatically. Here it is, by the way, in just kind of in a compressed version. Excuse me. Mexican President Sheinbaum says she had a good conversation with Trump. Says Mexico will deploy 10,000 National Guard immediately to the border for the purpose of avoiding drug trafficking to the U.S. U.S. has committed to working to avoid the trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico. So there you go. Now we're actually hearing something out of the U.S. side to try and help Mexico. This is a negotiation, folks. That's actually encouraging to see there. U.S. and Mexico teams have started to work today on security and business. Says tariffs are paused for a month from now. There's your headline. Thank you, Benzinga Pro. Giddy up. Giddy up. Oh, we're going to have so much fun this week. And I can't... This might be, mark it down right now, folks. This week might be incredible for the market, and it's going to culminate with a Super Bowl on Sunday. This is a good week. Normally, I'm out of town on this week, and not this year. And I think I picked a good one to stay around. Just saying. Just saying. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And a broken clock is right twice a day. You pick whichever adage you want. I'll go with that here. Quick looking at some of the stocks that we were trading here today. HCWB, that penny stock, really kind of gave it up after that initial move higher here. NXU, there's another penny stock going on volume here. I'm going to pass on this, but this thing is going. ICU, that wasn't one that we really looked at. GDS, this is going high. Wow, what's going on with GDS?
God damn, son.
Well done, 13. I didn't see that one coming. BCTX, this is kind of giving it up. God, a lot of these really kind of, this is wild stuff here. Tesla is still up off the lows. We'll take a look there at Tesla. Apple is bouncing. Bitcoin also at the highs here, 98,000 on Bitcoin.
Jonathan Cooper mentioning SGLY. This thing halted to the upside after getting over $1.
What did we get? Nope, no news here. Boy, I tell you what, this is just a volume rip. Look at this expanding volume. Good mention here.
Low float name.
Steve. Steve saying, hey, look, Reuters was correct after all that it was March 1st. Remember, we got news from Reuters when this was all breaking that the tariffs wouldn't actually start till March. The White House came out and said, no, that was fake. And now they're delaying it. Steve saying, hey, look, it looks like that March deadline ends up being real anyway.
So whoever they spoke to in the White House, because they said that they had several sources there that were familiar with the situation, that's kind of showing you the playbook. Just do this, and they're probably telling Reuters the whole plan here is to bring them to the table, and now that we have, we got this. I think that was kind of the reveal of the playbook. Like, we're just going to do this, and we're going to look to if they play ball, we'll extend it out to March 1st. That's probably what they got out of those people familiar with the matter. So just a speculation there, but that seems what it because I was kind of scratching my head where they got March 1st from. They didn't mention anything about March 1st.
I was too on the surface. That's a good point.
So I think they, whoever they're talking to, they must be talking to somebody who knows the entire playbook for the tariffs.
Now, it's worth noting that some of the stocks here are responding better than others. Izzy's done a masterful job highlighting Uber. Izzy, look, I think at this point, you've got me sold now. As far as day trading goes, Uber and Amazon, these are both good targets on a daily basis, it seems. I know the Amazon one worked over 2 days last week, but it worked nonetheless, even if it was only 2.5 points. Really, really good stuff there. Some of these stocks responding better than others. Okay, so if we take a look at Nike here, for example, Nike really sold off out of the open. This is pretty much back to the pre-market levels here. We take a look at EA, for example, here. This almost back too, but not outperforming, not trading as much as Nike. So I think you're gonna be able to find pockets of strength on some of these negotiations.
Yeah,
some things are going to be better than others.
And I think you're seeing some of these other, not necessarily tied to Mexico, but other countries like China. Some names I'm seeing starting to move up now on the thought that they may also be able to roll back tariffs if they play ball with Trump. That SGLY that we were just looking at, that's a Chinese freight logistics services company. So I could see how that would be running on the idea that tariffs are going to roll back. If everybody plays ball, this could be one that could really start to move. So I think that might be why you're seeing this one get legs.
Gary saying the orange man is playing chess. It indeed would seem like that. Steve, this one, you know what? I know you haven't booked this, so I'm sorry in advance if this turns around on you. I'm going to knock on wood, fingers crossed, whatever. You gave us this call in real time before it worked. You had said, looking at 600 SPY calls for this week. Those things are up 83%. That was a really good mention here. That's trading there. That's trading there. You will for sure get a register ring on that. Good stuff there. Robert saying EA has massive bullish option flow going into earnings. Okay, I will take that. I am still along EA there. And by the way, really quickly, just because I've mentioned this a few times, I sold and rolled that position. So I'm actually currently long a small amount of the EA February 1:30 calls. And since I've already booked some of those gains, Robert, I can absolutely see myself holding on to that until earnings. Yes, here are some of those calls, by the way.
Take care, Anthony. Well done today.
Yeah, take care of yourself. Really good job, all of you folks that came here today. Great job. I don't think I read one comment today where I thought, "Oop, that person is panicking." I think you folks were on top of this from the beginning. You had varying opinions on the whole thing, and I think the way you folks handled your things or yourselves here today was excellent. Well done. Huge puts long-term March on what, Izzy? On what? What ticker is that on?
GDMN long.
Vivian, sorry, Vivian. This is actually an interesting point. I hadn't thought about this before, which is why I'm highlighting Vivian's comment here. Vivian saying, good morning, Vivian, welcome. Everyone who is freaking out over the tariffs don't understand Trump. If you want an example, look at how he raised his kids and his ex-wives. He didn't raise them, but I know what you're saying. You see none of them embarrassing him in public. I agree with that. In fact, we had a recent thing with Marla Maples, who actually, an ex-wife that actually spoke highly of him. I can't remember exactly what this was about, but Vivian, your point is well made here. It almost seems that the people that have success are the people that work with him, and the people that go out and grandstand have less success. And I think that you're right. I think freaking out here is not the way to do things. Instead, kind of go about this a different way. From our perspective, we're not working with him. So for our perspective, stay calm, don't panic, think about ways to actually play this. And from the perspective of the folks that are working with him, work with them, have a conversation. There's definitely some middle ground. That's what he's after. He's not after, everything for himself. He's after that middle ground. And I think approaching that might actually help some of these dealings. That's good stuff, Vivian. I appreciate that. Boy, I think I'm going to stay glued to X today, folks. I mean, I don't know what else to say there. I think we are going to be glued to X here today.
Well, I mean, I don't know that China's going to be so willing to, play ball the way Trump wants to. We'll see, though. I mean, just based on the way that they've been behaving with not just the last administration, but Trump's last term, I have a hard time with that one. Canada, Mexico, that's a different story.
Okay. All right. Let me take a. Sorry, I was just kind of parsing through the X streets there. I think we're pretty much caught up on everything. Folks, let me know. Let me run through the scanner here and see if we're missing anything.
Bitcoin setting up to hit 100. I'm getting asked if there's a bull flag on the Qs. If you're referring to the 5-minute, I don't like the way that looks. That looks a little bearish to me.
So you're saying Q's 5-minute chart here? Here you go.
Yeah. No, that's not a bull flag. That doesn't look good to me. Now, if we do start to roll over and come back in, we could see some support possibly at around 515, not that far away. But yeah, I don't like the way that we've had these topping out candles. We just hit the top of my trend line. The one that you just drew, Ryan, earlier today.
I'm sorry, I was following some of the stocks in the chat. Which ticker?
The Qs.
Qs.
Oh, and actually that was from NVIDIA. I'm sorry, I thought I was looking at NVIDIA, which is pretty much the Qs. But no, I drew another trend line here with the Qs. We're coming back up to test it. We're bouncing right off of it. I'm not sure. We could continue to fill the gap that we made, from this price action this morning, but I don't think this is a bull flag. It's something else. The Bitcoin, though, that looks more like a bull flag. bull flag or a bull pennant. That looks better. That's why I think we're going to probably push up to 100K.
Hims with a really impressive move here today. Nick, I think you trade Hims. Was anyone on Hims today? This is actually an impressive move. Yep, and this continuing to push to new highs here. Man, oh man. This was really good on Hims for any of you that were still trading this.
Yeah, good point, Line Atlas. Don't force a chart to make a bull flag. Don't force yourself into believing any of these formations. If they don't meet the criteria for it, then likely it isn't that formation. It's going to be something else. Doesn't mean that it's bearish or bullish, but you're probably not going to get the resolution of that pattern if you're trying to force the way it looks.
Broadcom, ticker AVGO, setting up for a red to green move here on Broadcom. This up 6 points off those 214 lows that were put in earlier here.
Remember FTAI? This thing is on a tear. This has been on a tear all morning, despite the tariffs.
This is going to be another Lion Atlas big time winner. Lion, you did a really good job with this one. Way better than I did. I took short dated calls that I had to throw away here. You're still in yours after taking a hit. Is now moving higher here. FTAI, whoever did this trade, pat yourself on the back. Pat yourself on the back. This basically, we formulated the thesis off of what we saw from GL a few months prior. And now we're getting this FTAI trade to work out here. Really good stuff.
REBN back up to VWAP. Might push through it here. It's going.
Yep. And you got a potential fill up here to the VWAP. I think that's probably going to happen.
Oh, your VWAP's way up there. Mine just broke through it at 553.
Now, remember, the last time that we traded up towards this VWAP, we actually went through it and pulled and halted to the downside. So be sure to book gains if you get them. Don't be afraid to book gains if you get them. Tesla popping, Bitcoin at the highs here as well.
Yes. So we were really getting oversold. We were really getting oversold right before that Mexican president announcement, and now we're getting. I'm sorry, not over. Yeah, oversold. We were getting oversold. Now we're getting overbought.
SPY continuing to push higher here, as you're mentioning that overbought there. Mm-hmm. I actually think Matt had a really good mention there about the market, and he brought up a really good point. Trump was very, very paid a lot of attention to the market in his first term. It was very, very clear that he was unfazed by how the market would react to these things. And then Matt brought up a really good point about being up here near all-time highs, probably talking to Besant about that. I thought that was really good stuff.
We're about to fill the gap in SPY that we created this morning. That gap fills at 5.9881.
Okay. Real quickly, producer here, get your last votes in for the YouTube poll. Will SPY finish green or red? Okay, so it looks like we did the same thing. I voted in that first poll, producer. I'm going to go ahead and vote in this one too. Lion saying, Ryan, if you see any short report on any company, pass it to me and I'll go long. Tell you what, Lion, I'll make you a promise. We'll cover anytime we see a short report in here, we'll cover it as a group. I will say with Hindenburg closing up shop, maybe we're going to see less of them. Never know.
REBN still above my VWAP next, and we're in the next candle now. This could try to come back up. Not sure about the. Well, here we go. Now we're starting to get a little more volume. It's really getting some bids to help lift it.
I was watching videos about BMWs over the weekend, and now my YouTube algorithm is just showing me brand new BMWs every time I log into YouTube. It's just giving me even more FOMO, guys.
Heard you're having a good day in the market. Here's a BMW.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all I have to do is think to myself, hey, the next car, maybe it'll be a BMW, and I just get blasted with stuff. It's like it's reading my mind. That's another story, though.
Well, I started off the day with 2 losses and 1 win. Now I've got that back with REBN. So positive day for me now.
I dialed it back. And was not active on anything here today. I actually felt late to a couple of these moves, and I didn't play any of them, and I'm pissed at myself.
Oh, don't worry. There's gonna be plenty.
You know what though? You know what? You know what I'm going to do? 13. I'm glad that you said that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wait the morning out here. I'm going to see if we get a shakeout around lunch, and then I might throw some positions on for an overnight trade into tomorrow. Let's see. That might be because aren't we? Yeah. See, you know what? We are probably going to expect more headlines throughout later today. Maybe I'll update you. You could always follow my Twitter to see if I add any of those as well, or my Twitter, whatever.
All right, we're getting pretty close to 100K here with Bitcoin.
Yes, we are.
Less than 1,000 away.
Yes, we are.
And once we hit 100,000, then I have question marks.
Huge day for me, boys. No joke. Izzy, that's what we want to hear, man. I'm going to give you a registering. That's what we want to hear. And thanks for spending your time here in our stream trying to make bigger days for everyone else. That will always be appreciated. J. Michael saying, love BMW. I've had a few over my years. Yeah, I was looking at the 540i X Drive. As much as I'd want an M5, I was looking at the 540i.
FTAI new highs. This is doing really well compared to last week.
OKLO, so some of those nuke names right on. You know, one of the things that I wanted to take a look at here real quick. Wow. So here, this is crazy. Here's the OKLO daily chart. Here was the Friday before DeepSeek. The DeepSeek article took us all the way down to the broadening trend line 13 that you had me draw weeks ago, maybe even over a month ago now. And now we have actually set, well, I guess technically we didn't set new highs here today, but we are right back up to that same area here on OKLO. This,
dang.
Man, oh man, oh man.
Man, if you had put a limit order there on that trend line,
yep,
you'd be doing pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, some of these are absolutely ripping right now. I'm just taking a look at the space plays because these are all down today. So I'm wondering, maybe we might see some opportunities here, because these could come back tomorrow. This is how this volatility has been lately. It's up one day, down another. Redwire, in a in a rare occurrence, is down today.
Well, maybe that's what we need, right? Maybe we need this. I tell you what, maybe this comes back into 2021, gives us an opportunity. Yo, can you throw a shout out to us underwater stock traders? Sure can. Shout out to you. Let me ask you a follow-up question there real quick, mixed mastered Mike. Did you panic today? Or are you just down because you've remained calm and not panicked and booked huge losses? Because if you've done that, then you definitely deserve a shout out and possibly a pat on the back.
Got some pretty interesting price action over the last several months from Redwire as well. You want to draw a trend line?
Sure.
Pull up a daily chart of Redwire. There you go.
Let me get a bigger one. I'm going to throw it on my bigger chart. So if we ever need to refer to this, it'll be there. Here's RDW on a daily formation.
Yeah, start with the Monday, December 2nd high and draw it up through the highs later that month. And then just keep going. You'll see that we're now testing this trend line as support.
Monday, December 2nd. That's going to be right in here.
Yep.
And then right here.
No. Then draw it through the later December highs. There you go. You just had it.
Right here. Yep. Right here. Yep.
Yep. So now we're testing this trend line as support. So I think that watching what happens with this trend line will give you an idea of whether you want to go long or not. If we lose this trend line, then that's probably going to be, better going short. But we do have some levels where it could find some support on the way down. But that would be what I'd be watching for, is if we lose this trend line, that'd be more bearish and bullish. And it's also pretty extended here, so it would make sense if this came in.
Izzy here mentioning real quick, 69 calls coming in on Uber for February 7th. Those are the calls that expire this week, right? Yep. So those are the weekly calls on Uber, the 69 calls that are coming in. I'll say this, Izzy, When it comes to unusual options trading, two ways to do it. First of all, let's take a look at that 69 level that you were just talking about. Look where the 200-day is. I think it's definitely safe to say we're going back to the 200-day here. We're basically $1.30 away from that. So that's not like a huge call here. Do we move through this 200-day? That would be interesting. And those calls would print if they do that. I know they expire this week. We'll see if we have it this week. But one thing to keep in mind when you're trading unusual options, if you're looking to maybe kind of join on like a momentum move, like if you think Uber is trading up with a momentum, then I can see following those calls in there. But otherwise, as a tip, if you don't think this is just like a straight momentum move, note that, and those calls might become cheaper if the stock pulls in a little bit, and you can kind of go at those. So I'll watch those 69 calls, and actually, let's see what tomorrow brings, Izzy, because maybe if Uber dips out of the open, we might be able to day trade those 69 calls that expire this week. Not a bad mention at all.
So I've got a level on Bitcoin marked off here, 99,800. Just beneath the $100,000 mark, and we just hit a high of 99,702. Just watching to see if we get any kind of resistance or turnaround there at that, just beneath that $100,000 level at that area I marked off. Just kind of want to see if we get some profit taking here on this pretty nice move that we've had up here. We just moved $5,000 in the morning here, so that's been a nice move in Bitcoin. Let's see if we get a little profit taking. Looks like BCTX might be trying to find some kind of a bottom. I don't think it's quite turning around yet, but the selling certainly has slowed down. It's moving more sideways than south.
I'm going to go back to that main workspace and follow some of these movers here.
Or Getty was a good one. This was a really nice move off that bottom once that Mexican president started speaking. He said a nice move through VWAP, back tested it, got the support, and we are off. Now we're moving through some of these EMAs, trying to take out the consolidation from the pre-market. We're in that right now. Maybe if we do that, we run into a little bit of resistance at 1290. It seems to be where we had the low from Friday. So I'd be looking at that as the next level beyond the consolidation and pre-market that we could find resistance at.
Traders were a bit terrified. I see you clucking, big chicken. Way to go, Crow.
Dang, that's a good one.
Stopped out of my 600 calls at 150% profit. I ain't going to complain. Beautiful day for trading. Indeed, Steve. Well done. Also, good strategy there of, it sounds like you're using a trailing stop, right? We talked about that on the way up there. That's a really good way to day trade a reversal like this. So good stuff to you there.
Got to get some of the cues to roll over a little bit here. Needs to, and it's on the higher side of the trend line that I have. So let's see if it gets support from that now after it broke through that resistance.
Interesting. Some of my longer term small cap holds are actually going green. Portillo's, Weth, which is a Chinese company, that I guess I'm more surprised that went green. iPower. That might also have a connection to green energy there. I know several of you were mentioning the performance in solar today, which is interesting. EA went green. Interesting. Well, let me ask you this. You think if we get I don't want to say similar because every situation is a little bit different, but if we get a similar type of headline that there's, let me define that a little bit better. If we get a similar type of headline that there's some, negotiating going on between Canada and the United States, do you think we see another leg of this move, or do you think that's just kind of already kind of priced in with what we've seen?
I think we could see some more upside.
I tend to agree with you. I think that we'd actually see this move push further. And I don't know that we see that during market hours too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, because like you said, that meeting is at what, 3 p.m. Eastern?
Well, yeah, that's what Trudeau said earlier. Yes, he's going to meet with them at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, so that's going to be during power hour, and it could be the situation you just said. We might not hear anything out of there until maybe after the market closes. So we could get a lot of volatility in the after hours if they start talking about the meeting afterwards.
Bitcoin's still trucking higher here. That looks pretty decent. NBIS, by the way, that's the that other AI name. I know some of this. I call them smaller AI names. TEM and NBIS, probably the two best of that group here. Both of those seem to be performing pretty well here today. Let's see if some prices for things will go down, since they were going to blame hiking prices on the tariffs. And it would be interesting to see if prices change at all here. By the way, Nike might be breaking right now to take the next leg higher. I'm out of this. I've been watching it, though, because it's actually not a bad vehicle to short-term trade. Nike here, for a day trade here, we actually might break higher here. Might also have a gap fill up to 76.5 if it can get above here.
And to Vision's point, that's because you probably would have seen a lot of companies that aren't affected by tariffs raising prices, not to the level of where those tariff affected companies would be having to place their prices, but it would be a little bit more like gouging. Why not get a little bit more percentage margin, since people would have to either choose us or the really high, expensively priced items. And so raising their prices a little bit, that's something that could absolutely happen in a tariff environment.
I'll tell you what, be sure to vote in our poll. Things can change here, but right now it sure looks like these markets are trying to go green here. Quick look around the horn. S&P futures down 0.7 at the moment. That is staunchly up off the lows from earlier. Dow futures here down 3.35. Dow is the closest to green, and NASDAQ here down 0.8. So to your point, it would, or to the point, it would need another push here to go green. But so far, markets this is one of the reasons why I wanted to ask Matt about that earlier. The markets are unbelievably resilient. Like, even I look at this and I'm like, how? I thought, given everything I saw yesterday, I thought I was going to show up here today and we were going to be maybe limit down several hundred. But we were down 1.5%. I mean, it's not. The market is proving to be resilient. And by the way, folks, our poll vote, and this was a smaller sample size than the first poll, but 53% of you think that the market is going to go green today. 31% of you said red, and 15% of you said about flat. So really, again, really great stuff from the group here on the participation. You just love to see that. And good idea generation here from the entire group. You folks Absolutely. Have been all over it today.
Oh, great mention from Mike. I'm sorry, from the Crow about REBN. I've been waiting for this one. He posted that, and I was like, oh yeah, let's go. And certainly it's doing that right now. We're trying to recover some of these downside moves we've had in the morning from the tariffs. We're also getting some EMAs, some smaller EMAs crossing the larger ones to the upside. That's great. We're probably going to get some EMAs crossing a VWAP. That's even better. Looking good for REBN right now.
And ZBAI, that was in that nice little curl and rip to the highs here. Here is your REBN chart right above the VWAP. You'd love to see a move through 6 right here on REBN. All right, Big Bees, take care. It is 11 a.m., folks. 13, any closing words here for the group?
What? The fun's already over?
Okay, I mean,
well. Hey, look, there I am.
There you are. There you are, frozen. There you are.
Yeah,
frozen.
no, I'm halted on volatility.
Okay.
So anyway, folks, while I remain halted here, well done on these trades today. This has been absolutely phenomenal, and I don't think we're going to get this data end quite yet here with 11 a.m. Keep an eye open if you're still trading these things for some more price action after the lunch hour, maybe even in power hour. We do have the Trudeau Trump meeting at 3 p.m. Could get more volatility out of that. Just stick to your guns and what you've been doing. It's been working out for you. Don't break your rules, and I'll see everybody tomorrow. Hopefully, with a working camera or whatever I need to do to get this to get my face on here, so nobody gets sad that they can't see me. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, folks. Bye bye.
Take care, 13. Really good stuff there, folks. Great stuff here again today. Another Monday, and you folks handled it extremely well, as you always do. Stay green, stay safe. We will see you tomorrow.